His son sprained an ankle, only to be declared brain dead by the hospital. When Zhao Gang arrived, he saw nothing but a box of ashes. Immediately after, his daughter was kidnapped. Zhao Gang had a breakdown. Watch how an honest man personally takes revenge for his children. They say a corner dog will jump over a wall. Zhao Gang is probably that corner dog everyone talks about.
Boo-hoo. Dad. My brother is dead.
A voice choked with extreme grief came through the phone speaker into Zhao Gang's ears.
What did you say?
My brother is dead.
Clang! The rice bowl in Zhao Gang's hand slipped involuntarily from his grasp. The food inside spilled all over the ground.
Say that again.
Zhao Gang asked with a trembling voice, a look of disbelief in his eyes. As he spoke, he deliberately checked the caller ID, thinking he had answered the wrong call. It read, "Baby daughter, Zhao Wenxuan."
Dad. My brother is dead.
Zhao Wenxuan's bitter weeping came from the other end.
Your brother. What exactly happened to him?
Zhao Gang forcibly suppressed the grief in his heart, trying his best not to let his tears fall.
My brother went to play basketball with classmates this morning. He went to the hospital to treat a sprained ankle. And the doctor said he was brain dead.
Huh? Brain dead?
Zhao Gang screamed in shock, his chest feeling as if it had been struck by a heavy hammer. An intense sensation of suffocation surged up instantly, and unable to hold himself up, he slumped to the ground.
Your brother. He? Where? Where is he now?
Zhao Gang felt his blood pressure skyrocket and his head spin.
He has already been sent to the morgue at Jingdu Hospital. The hospital won't let family see him. I don't know how to face this. Dad, come quickly. Come quickly.
Zhao Wenxuan's tears gushed like a spring, her breakdown continuing.
Xian. Don't go anywhere. Wait at the hospital. I'll take a car there right now.
Hanging up the phone, Zhao Gang stood up in a burning rush of anxiety.
Gang. Gongzi. What happened? Where are you going?
Seeing this, the other co-workers eating nearby asked hurriedly with concern. Zhao Gang turned a deaf ear, paying no mind to the overturned rice bowl on the ground, and ran hurriedly toward his dormitory. Zhao Gang was a miner, over 40 years old, honest and guileless, without any great skills. He had spent his life holed up in underground mine shafts digging for coal. He didn't have much education. Aside from knowing a bit of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, he only recognized a few characters. His family had been poor since childhood. Unable to afford school, he was forced to drop out before finishing elementary school. His wife had passed away early. She died of heart disease. She had reached the operating table, but before they could even attempt to resuscitate her, she was declared dead by the hospital. He didn't even get to see his wife one last time before her body was sent to the morgue and then transferred to the crematorium. All that was delivered to his hands was a box of ashes. Losing his wife, Zhao Gang's hair turned white overnight. Though only in his 30s, his face became covered in deep, crisscrossing wrinkles. Despite his young age, he looked like a little old man. Fortunately, he still had a son and a daughter. Under his painstaking upbringing, the children grew up healthy and strong. His son, Zhao Wenji, was currently a graduate student on the verge of entering society. Who could have predicted that because of sprained ankle, he would be declared brain dead by the hospital? His daughter, Zhao Wenxuan, was a sophomore in college with excellent grades, ranking among the best in her school and known as a top scholar. Both children were very successful, which gave Zhao Gang great strength in his work. Zhao Gang's sudden departure left the other co-workers completely bewildered. They kept shouting for Zhao Gang from behind, but he paid them no heed. After diving into the dormitory, Zhao Gang changed his clothes in a frantic rush, grabbed his ID card and wallet, flagged down a taxi, and headed straight for the high-speed railway station. He mined in his hometown of Xishan City, while his children attended university in Jingdu City. The high-speed train ride would take at least 2 hours. It was now 10:30 in the morning. He had mined all last night and was preparing to sleep after breakfast. Who could have expected to suddenly receive this tragic news? Along the way, Zhao Gang was in a daze like a walking corpse. Whenever he thought of his son's misfortune, he would choke up uncontrollably. His phone suddenly rang. He opened it to find a call from team leader Brother Zhang. Brother Zhang was his direct supervisor and came from the same village. All these years he had followed Brother Zhang, and Brother Zhang had never treated him unfairly, regarding him as a biological brother. He subconsciously answered the phone.
Gongzi, where did you go in such a hurry? Did something happen at home? Why didn't you even say hello before leaving? I just wired 20,000 yuan to your card. If it's not enough, tell me. If you need my help, just say the word.
Brother Zhang's concerned voice came from the other end. As soon as the words left Brother Zhang's mouth, the distracted Zhao Gang's defenses instantly crumbled. His tears poured out uncontrollably. But he forced himself to hold back his tears.
Brother Zhang, I'm fine. There really is something going on at home. I'll tell you about it later,
he said, pretending to be calm.
All right then. I know it hasn't been easy for you raising 2 kids on your own. But if they've gotten into trouble, don't lose your temper. Talk to them patiently, okay?
Brother Zhang consoled him.
Yeah, I know.
After hanging up the phone, Zhao Gang forced himself to calm down. But the calmer he tried to be, the more grief he felt inside. Just a sprained ankle. It was ruled as brain death. And he was even taken to the morgue. Doesn't that amount to being declared dead on the spot? His thoughts were a tangled mess, and he unconsciously cast his gaze out the car window. Overhead, a blue and white private helicopter suddenly roared past from 100 meters up, its propellers whirring madly. Zhao Gang caught a glimpse of the helicopter, and his heart gave a sudden, involuntary twitch. He slowly closed his eyes, silently praying for his son's safety. At 1 p.m., the high-speed train arrived at Jingdu Station. Wasting no time, Zhao Gang grabbed his luggage bag and rushed into the underground parking garage like a madman, hailed a taxi, and headed straight for Jingdu Hospital. His son's body was still in the hospital morgue. His daughter was waiting for him helplessly at the hospital entrance. He had to go with his daughter to the morgue immediately to check on his son. Arriving at the hospital entrance, Zhao Wenxuan spotted him instantly and hurriedly ran over.
Dad.
What's the situation with your brother?
Zhao Gang asked urgently.
The doctor said he's gone. They've already taken my brother's body to the crematorium.
Zhao Wenxuan cried.
Aw, that fast?
Zhao Gang felt a sharp pain in his heart. Are hospitals really this heartless? Do they not even let the family take one last look after a patient dies? When his wife died, he also didn't make it in time to see her. All he received was a box of ashes. Now that his son was dead, he wouldn't get to see him one last time either. His brow furrowed. He began to feel somewhat at a loss. He was a simple, honest man who hadn't even finished elementary school and could barely read. How was he supposed to know what to do next?
Let's go,
Zhao Gang said with grief.
Where to?
Zhao Wenxuan asked.
the crematorium, to get your brother's ashes.
Zhao Gang said, his heart heavy with sorrow.
Shouldn't we go into the hospital and ask some questions?
Zhao Wenxuan was a sophomore in college, after all, so her way of thinking was naturally different from Zhao Gang's.
Ask what? He's already dead. What is there left to ask?
Zhao Gang asked, suppressing his grief.
I don't think my brother died that easily. His classmates just said. My brother only sprained his ankle, he wasn't even bleeding. At most, he just needed an orthopedic correction.
Zhao Wenxuan said unwillingly.
Then where are those classmates of his?
Zhao Gang asked.
They were afraid of being held responsible. They all ran away.
Zhao Wenxuan said angrily.
Sigh. We're just common folk. The weak can't fight the strong. If he's dead, we just have to accept our fate.
Zhao Gang let out a long sigh.
Even if we can't win, we have to try. We have to go into the hospital and ask. Dad. You're just too honest. Don't you think there's something fishy about this?
Zhao Wenxuan glared.
Fishy? What does fishy mean?
Zhao Gang asked, stunned.
Oh, come on. Just come with me to the orthopedics department to ask.
Zhao Wenxuan grabbed Zhao Gang's hand and pulled him toward the orthopedics department. Zhao Gang had no choice. Dragged along by his daughter, he entered the hospital building, took the elevator, and arrived at the orthopedic doctor's office.
Dar. Lou. My dad is here. We want to ask why exactly my brother was declared brain dead.
With her father present, Zhao Wenxuan felt a bit more confident. She had asked earlier, but Dr. Lou only said it was brain death, he was gone, and had already been sent to the morgue. But the instruction to go check the morgue was purely a perfunctory brush-off. He had absolutely no sense of responsibility. She went to the morgue, but was refused entry by the staff there on the grounds that it was inconvenient to view. An hour later, she received the news that her brother had been sent to the crematorium. Throughout the whole process, she was not allowed to see her brother's body. This was also the reason she felt something was suspicious. Seeing Zhao Gang arrive, Dr. Lou hurriedly stood up and said,
"Oh, Zhao Wenji's family is here. Hello. I'm really sorry to make you come all this way personally. Zhao Wenji is indeed brain dead. The nerves in his foot transferred to his cranial nerves, causing damage to the cranial nerves and resulting in brain death. These are the patient's MRI scans. And here is the detailed report. Since you're here, could you please pay the diagnostic fees? The total is 1,585 yuan.
As he spoke, Dr. Lou picked up an MRI film, a diagnostic report, and an unpaid hospital bill from the table beside him. Flustered and helpless, Zhao Gang accepted the MRI film and the bill. He didn't know what to say. Dr. Lou had been very clear. The nerves from the foot had transferred to the cranial nerves, causing trauma to the cranial nerves and resulting in brain death. He had even produced the MRI film and the diagnostic report. What else could he say?
Impossible. I consulted a friend. He said a foot sprain usually doesn't cause brain death, because brain death is a very serious neurological injury. It usually requires severe trauma to the head to cause brain death.
Zhao Wenxuan had asked about this in detail.
Hey, you little girl. Usually. He said usually, which doesn't mean never. Understand?
Dr. Lou seized upon the word usually in her statement. Zhao Wenxuan parted her lips.
The hospital has already given a definitive answer. Do you think we would lie to you?
Dr. Lou asked. Zhao Gang shook his head subconsciously and said,
I believe your diagnosis. But my son...
Everyone's physical constitution is different. We did our best.
Dr. Lou interrupted him.
Dad. Let's call the police. This is absolutely impossible. Foot nerves have nothing to do with brain nerves. We have to see my brother. We can't just listen to their one-sided story.
Zhao Wenxuan was still very vigilant. Zhao Gang nodded and said,
Let's go to the crematorium to collect the ashes first.
Hey, wait. Pay the treatment fees first.
Dr. Lou clamored. Zhao Gang didn't speak. Clutching the MRI film and the bill, he headed to the payment window. After paying the fees, Zhao Gang looked wearily at his daughter, whose eyes were red, and asked,
Apart from calling the police, is there any other way?
We can only call the police first. If necessary, we can seek legal aid. But I'm afraid. I'm afraid calling the police might be useless too.
Zhao Wenxuan said somewhat dejectedly. After all, she was just a girl from the countryside. Her experience in society was pitifully scant. She hadn't yet been hardened by the ways of the world. At most, she had a bit more education than Zhao Gang, but when it came to dealing with a matter of life and death, she shrank back. The talk of calling the police was merely to scare Dr. Lou. If she really had to call the police, she would likely be afraid of what might follow. She could only blame the fact that she was saddled with such an honest father. She could only blame her own heart for being too kind. She could only blame the fact that she was helpless, with no powerful figure behind her to hold the fort or offer counsel. She could only blame her origins for being too ordinary.
Yes, I'm afraid calling the police is useless too. If Dr. Lou is right, we can only blame our bad luck. Are hospitals really this heartless nowadays? Not even letting the family see the patient one last time after death?
This was what pained Zhao Gang the most. He hadn't seen his wife one last time, and now he hadn't seen his son one last time either. Is the hospital's way of doing things really this heartless? Standing on the steps of the hospital building, Zhao Gang seemed to have aged a few years. His hair was completely white. The wrinkles on his face had deepened. His pupils were veiled in agony, and sorrowful tears spilled from his eyes.
Dad.
Zhao Wenxuan nestled into her father's embrace, her eyes welling up with helplessness and grief. 1 hour later, the father and daughter arrived at the crematorium. In the end, Zhao Gang still didn't get to see his son one last time. All the crematorium gave him was a box of ashes and an expensive bill. Looking at the urn in his arms and the bill, Zhao Gang couldn't help but cry out. It wasn't that he cared about the money. He was lamenting the ruthlessness of society. Misfortune specifically targets the miserable. He had thought that once his children graduated from college and started working, he wouldn't have to toil so hard from 9 to 5 anymore. But who would have thought? His precious son would meet such an end before even entering the real world.
Dad.
Zhao Wenxuan sobbed. Holding the urn in one arm and his precious daughter in the other, Zhao Gang suppressed the sob at the corner of his mouth and said,
Xian, go back to school. Study hard and don't cause trouble. Dad only has you left. You must be well. You know?
No. Dad, I want to go back and send my brother off on his final journey.
Zhao Wenxuan said stubbornly.
Studying is important. Don't delay your studies. When school goes on winter break, you can come back and burn incense and paper money for your brother then.
Zhao Gang said, clutching his son's urn.
Dad.
Listen to me. Go back to school. Pretend your brother's situation never happened. Don't mention it to anyone at school, so your classmates won't look down on you.
Zhao Gang said with a sense of powerlessness. Zhao Wenxuan returned to school. Zhao Gang carefully wrapped his son's cinerary urn, boarded a bus, and arrived at the train station. He had taken a high-speed rail on the way there out of urgency. On the way back, he took the regular train to save money. By the time he got home, it was already past midnight. Early the next morning, with the help of friends and relatives, Zhao Gang saw his precious son off on his final journey. There was a rule in the village. Unmarried young people who passed away usually could not be kept in the home for more than 3 days. Under the direction of the geomancer, a burial site was chosen. When Zhao Gang's co-workers heard the news, almost all of them came. Brother Zhang offered Zhao Gang a few words of comfort before leaving helplessly, shaking his head and sighing. It was a case of the white-haired burying the black-haired. The villagers looked upon Zhao Gang with sympathy. However, all of this was nothing yet. On the very night of Zhao Wenji's funeral, after the relatives had left one by one, Zhao Gang received a sudden phone call that nearly caused him to collapse.
Dad. Save me. Dad. Save me.
Damn it. What are you lot good for? Why didn't you confiscate the phone? Useless trash. Thud thud.
Before the cry for help on the phone was finished, Zhao Gang heard a stream of cursing. Immediately after, before Zhao Gang could speak, the call was abruptly disconnected. The busy signal beeped incessantly. Zhao Gang's scalp tingled violently. His mind went blank, but his intuition told him something had happened to his daughter, because that was his daughter's cry for help on the other end. A heart-wrenching, lonely, and helpless cry for help. Zhao Gang's heart shattered. A buzzing sound rang in his head. His mental state nearly collapsed. In that instant, he felt utterly helpless. His daughter had been kidnapped. Tears suddenly streamed from his eyes like a rushing river, flowing uncontrollably. His whole body trembled violently, and his fists clenched subconsciously. A massive surge of anger abruptly rose from within him. His son was brain dead. His daughter was kidnapped. Wasn't this trying to take his life? It was 10:00 p.m. Where had Xin gone at this time? Why was she kidnapped? And who were the kidnappers? Zhao Gang took deep breaths in and out, his chest heaving violently, his eyes shooting a terrifying glare. Disregarding everything else, he grabbed the bag containing the funeral monetary gift from the bed, threw on a coat, hopped on the 125 cubic centimeters motorcycle in the courtyard, and raced straight to the high-speed railway station through the night. The cold air made Zhao Gang shiver uncontrollably. But Zhao Gang couldn't care about that. His daughter had been kidnapped. The cold wind turned Zhao Gang's face pale. His hands were frozen stiff, but Zhao Gang paid it no mind. Tears flowed from the corners of his eyes without him realizing, turning to ice as they dripped and fell to the ground. When he arrived at the high-speed railway station, Zhao Gang was so frozen his mouth couldn't form words. It was too late. He couldn't buy a high-speed ticket at all, and high-speed trains didn't operate at night. There was no other way. Zhao Gang went to the regular train station. He was relatively lucky. There was exactly one ticket left for Jingdu. After buying the ticket, Zhao Gang, with a gloomy face, went to the waiting hall to wait for the train. The waiting hall was too noisy. The noise made Zhao Gang upset and agitated. He went to a corner and sat down alone. A cold glint appeared in his eyes. Ignoring his freezing body, he took out his phone with trembling hands and dialed his daughter's number, hoping against hope that the earlier call had been a hallucination. The subscriber you dialed is powered off. Beep, beep, beep. The ruthless automated message came through. He hung up and helplessly scrolled through his contacts. He started blaming himself again. If his daughter had come back to attend her brother's funeral, she wouldn't have gotten into trouble. So, who was the person who kidnapped his daughter? What was the purpose of the kidnapping? Did his daughter offend someone she shouldn't have, or was someone deliberately targeting their family? His son was brain dead. His daughter was kidnapped. Was this a coincidence, or was it inevitable? Zhao Gang felt like he was about to collapse. If he lost both his children, what face did he have to keep living in this world? Even if he went to the underworld, he probably wouldn't be able to account for this to his late wife who had died of illness, right? He felt somewhat lost. Tears wet his eyes once again. At this moment, how lonely and helpless he was. How he wished his wife could come back to life. How he wished his son was safe and worry-free. How he wished his daughter could appear by his side, safe and sound. However, these were ultimately just bubbles. Just fantasies after all. He tried desperately to protect this home, but it was becoming increasingly battered and broken, increasingly fragmented. A deep sense of powerlessness spread from the bottom of his heart. He almost couldn't hold it back and wailed aloud on the spot. The train arrived at the station. Zhao Gang roughly wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and, burning with anxiety, queued up to board the train. The pitch-black night was dotted with stars. Through the train window, Zhao Gang gazed up at the boundless firmament above. Amidst the twinkling stars, he seemed to see the two brightest ones. One was his wife. The other was his son. They seemed to be wailing, weeping, and blaming Zhao Gang for his incompetence. Zhao Gang subconsciously clenched his fists. A cold glint shot from his eyes once more. He silently swore in his heart that if his daughter suffered even the slightest physical harm, he would drag out the culprit, flay their skin, pull out their tendons, drink their blood, and crush their bones to make soup. He would show absolutely no mercy. When the sky turned the color of a fish's belly, the pale white of dawn, the train arrived in Jingdu. Zhao Gang didn't bother eating. He headed straight for the school immediately. He didn't have a teacher's phone number or any contact information for his daughter's classmates. His only option was to go to the school to get the details. He hadn't called the police immediately either, because the very concept of calling the police didn't even exist in his mind. He was an honest, simple man with very little worldly experience. Every day, he was either mining or on his way to mine. His mind was focused solely on raising his children through his mining work. If his body ever gave out, he planned to buy himself a box, put on his burial clothes, drink some paraquat, lie down in it, and go to the underworld to find his late wife. His thinking was simple and rustic. He never imagined that tragedy would strike him yet again. Arriving at the school gate, he was stopped by a security guard. Seeing his honest face and simple appearance, the guard led him into the security office. He said impatiently,
My name is Zhao Gang. My daughter is Zhao Wenxuan, and she studies at this school. Last night, I got a distress call from my daughter. She's been kidnapped. Can you help me contact her teacher and the principal?
Zhao Wenxuan? You're Zhao Wenxuan's father?
The security guard's expression turned respectful upon hearing the name. It wasn't for nothing. Zhao Wenxuan was a famous top student in the school. Furthermore, she hadn't attended class this morning and hadn't returned to her dorm last night. These facts had already alarmed the school's upper management. The school had tried calling Zhao Wenxuan's phone, but it was off. They found Zhao Gang's number through her files, but surprisingly, his phone was off too. Zhao Gang's phone had run out of battery. Yesterday was his son's funeral. Before he could rest that night, he received his daughter's distress call. He didn't have time to charge it before rushing onto the train. Only after boarding did he realize the battery was about to die.
Yes, I am her father.
Before Zhao Gang could finish, the guard hurriedly dialed the principal's office number. Learning that Zhao Wenxuan's father had arrived at the school, the principal and the dean hurriedly came to the gate.
Are you Zhao Wenxuan's father, Zhao Gang?
The principal asked with a frown upon seeing him. The principal was a pot-bellied man of about 50, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, a suit, leather shoes, and a tie. The dean looked quite young, under 40, with a fleshy build that looked very sturdy.
Yes, I am.
Zhao Gang replied hurriedly.
What is going on with your phone? Why couldn't we get through?
The principal asked, looking displeased.
My battery died. Last night, I got a distress call from my daughter. She was kidnapped. I rushed here from my hometown as soon as I got the call.
Zhao Gang explained frantically.
Do you know who kidnapped her?
The dean asked a pointless question.
I don't know.
Isn't that a stupid question? If he knew, he would have called the police already.
The principal scolded angrily. Saying this, the principal remembered something and hurriedly asked,
Have you called the police?
Police?
Zhao Gang scratched his head.
No, I haven't reported it.
Oh, why didn't you call the police immediately? It's been a whole night, who knows what might have happened.
The principal was burning with anxiety, his brow furrowed. Zhao Wenxuan was the face of their school, a famous top student with excellent grades. She had always been well-behaved and sensible, never causing trouble. She was a priority subject for the school's cultivation. This was why the school administration took the matter so seriously after she went missing. If this had happened to an ordinary student, the administration would never have had this attitude.
So what do we do now?
Zhao Gang was confused.
Call the police. Call them immediately.
The principal ordered the dean. The dean didn't dare delay and hurriedly dialed the police.
You haven't eaten yet, have you?
The principal asked with concern.
I'm not hungry. Gurgle. Gurgle.
No sooner had Zhao Gang spoken than his stomach growled disappointingly. From the time he returned the night before last until the funeral concluded yesterday, he hadn't eaten a single bite. With his son dead, how could he possibly have an appetite? Last night, before he even had a chance to eat, he received the distress call from his daughter. He had boarded the train in a frantic state, and upon disembarking, rushed straight to the school. There had been no opportunity to eat. Moreover, with his son just buried and his daughter now kidnapped, even if lobster and abalone were placed right in front of him, he wouldn't have the stomach for it. Until his daughter was found, he could neither sleep nor eat in peace. After the dean hung up the phone, the principal said to him,
Take Zhao Wenxuan's father to the school cafeteria to get something to eat.
All right. No, I won't eat. I'm not hungry.
Zhao Gang said, shaking his head.
You have to eat something. As the saying goes, man is iron, food is steel. Don't let yourself collapse before Zhao Wenxuan is found. Her mother passed away early, and you are her pillar of support. If something happens to you, how will we answer to her when we find her?
The principal said with a frown. The words were blunt but true. It was clear he was showing concern for Zhao Gang, for Zhao Wenxuan's sake. Zhao Gang felt a touch of gratitude and said, his voice choking up,
Thank you for your concern, sir. But I really can't eat.
There was a sob in his voice, and he almost broke down, crying right there.
Sigh. It's not easy being a parent. I can understand your suffering. Rest assured, with the police involved, nothing will happen to Zhao Wenxuan.
The principal consoled him. Zhao Gang nodded. The principal signaled the dean with his eyes. The dean understood immediately and eagerly hurried out of the security office. Before long, the dean returned to the security office carrying 2 dishes, 3 steamed buns, and a bowl of hot soup. The security guard said with a hint of envy,
Wenxuan's dad, I've worked here for so many years and never seen another parent get this kind of treatment. You should eat while it's hot.
Zhao Gang stared blankly at the food. He would rather not have this kind of treatment. He would rather be burrowing into an underground mine, digging day and night, than see his children in such peril. No one could understand his suffering. The food before him smelled delicious, making Zhao Gang involuntarily swallow his saliva. But remembering that his daughter was missing, he had absolutely no desire to eat.
Zhao's dad. Go ahead and eat. Eat it while it's hot, don't let it get cold.
The security guard reminded him solicitously. Zhao Gang's face was filled with sorrow. He had no interest in the meal.
By the way, Zhao Wenxuan's father. How is Zhao Wenji doing these days? I heard he's been preparing for his postgraduate entrance exams, right?
The principal suddenly asked. Zhao Wenji had also graduated from this school. Although his grades weren't as good as Zhao Wenxuan's, he had still ranked among the best. Therefore, the principal still had a fresh memory of him. He brought up Zhao Wenji merely to distract Zhao Gang, hoping to give him a momentary respite from his suffering so he might take the opportunity to eat something. Little did he know, these words were like General Guan's green dragon crescent blade, ruthlessly striking another blow to Zhao Gang's heart. Zhao Gang's heart began to throb with pain. He opened his mouth, but for a moment, he didn't know what to say.
Wenji is preparing for his exams. He's doing just fine.
Seeing the expectant looks of the principal and the others for the first time, Zhao Gang went against his conscience and offered a perfunctory lie. They didn't know what had happened to Zhao Wenji. The day before yesterday, he had instructed his daughter not to speak of her brother's fate. Zhao Wenxuan had been in internal agony, but had spoken of it to no one. Zhao Gang was indeed very hungry, but thinking of his children's plight, he truly couldn't swallow a bite. The police soon arrived at the school. In the end, Zhao Gang didn't eat a single mouthful. After the police arrived, they began with a round of questioning. Even Zhao Wenxuan's homeroom teacher and several students from her dormitory were questioned. One female student said,
Zhao Wenxuan is usually very hardworking. Every day, she stays until the classroom lights are turned off before leaving to go back to the dorm.
Another female student said,
Usually, Xian gets back to the dorm around 10:20. But last night, I don't know why, but Xian didn't come back. By then, we were already asleep. When we woke up this morning, we found that Xuan's quilt hadn't been touched at all. Also, Xian has been in low spirits these past 2 days. It seemed like something had happened. We asked her, but she wouldn't say anything.
The principal turned his gaze to Zhao Gang and asked,
Could something have happened at home?
Zhao Gang remained silent. Officer Chen asked,
What happened at home? Please tell us the truth. This could be the key to solving the case.
Zhao Gang shook his head and said,
Family matters have nothing to do with her disappearance.
Please cooperate with our investigation and tell us the truth.
Officer Chen said solemnly. Zhao Gang hesitated for a moment and said,
Yesterday was the day her brother Zhao Wenji was buried.
What did you say?
The principal was startled, his expression one of disbelief. The dean of students and the homeroom teacher were both dumbfounded, reeling in shock.
Wasn't his brother preparing for the graduate entrance exams? How could he suddenly be dead?
The principal realized his earlier words had been insensitive. No wonder Zhao Gang had no appetite. Zhao Gang fell silent for another moment before speaking.
The morning before last, Wenji was playing basketball and accidentally twisted his ankle. The hospital declared him brain dead. He was sent straight to the morgue. By the time I arrived in the capital, all I saw was a box of ashes.
Does Zhao Wenxuan know all this?
Officer Chen asked. Zhao Gang nodded.
It seems this has nothing to do with Zhao Wenxuan's disappearance. In that case, Principal, to find clues, we need to pull up all the school's surveillance footage. We hope the school will cooperate with our investigation.
Officer Chen said.
Yes, no problem. We will cooperate fully.
The principal replied hastily. Speaking, the principal turned his gaze to the dean.
Director Wang, take Officer Chen to check the surveillance footage. I'll sit with Wenxuan's father for a while. The rest of you go back to your classrooms.
After sending everyone away, the principal sat down on a chair in the security office.
Wenxuan's father. My words earlier were a bit insensitive. I hope you won't take them to heart.
Zhao Gang shook his head.
Thank you for your concern, Principal.
Sigh. Wenji was very bright and his grades at our school were excellent. I really never would have imagined. Sigh. Heaven is jealous of talent. Truly jealous of talent.
The principal couldn't help but sigh, then patted his chest.
But rest assured, the school will absolutely not sit idly by regarding Wenxuan. No matter who the culprit is, we will fight to the end. Regardless of whether she went missing on our grounds, we will take full responsibility. We do this for the school and for your family.
Thank you for your kindness, Principal.
Zhao Gang was genuinely grateful. His education was limited, so he could only express his gratitude in simple terms.
Can we go watch the surveillance footage together? I want to know where my daughter was kidnapped.
Zhao Gang said suddenly.
Yes, no problem. I'll take you there right now.
The principal replied without hesitation.
But, don't you want to eat something first?
The principal pointed to the food on the table. Zhao Gang didn't seem to want to waste the food, so he said,
I can't eat right now. This food. I'll take it with me.
As he spoke, he tied up the bag containing the meal, putting the steamed buns and dishes into the bag he carried with him. Since the rice soup wasn't convenient to carry, Zhao Gang left it in the security office. Led by the principal, the two headed to the school surveillance room. Before they even entered, the police officer and the dean of students walked out.
Did you find any clues?
The principal hurriedly stepped forward to ask. The dean glanced at Zhao Gang and frowned.
For now, we can confirm that she went missing from within our school.
Huh. How is that possible? Did you discover who kidnapped Zhao Wenxuan?
The principal looked incredulous. Officer Chun said,
It was 4 masked perpetrators who kidnapped Zhao Wenxuan.
Where in the school did the kidnapping happen?
The principal asked.
At the corner to the right of the girls' dormitory. There's a tree-lined avenue there. The night was too hazy. We could only make out the rough silhouettes of the masked men through the dim lighting. They were 4 young men. Now we need to figure out where they took her out, or rather, where these 4 intruders entered the school.
Officer Chun said in a grave voice. The principal turned his gaze to the dean of students. The dean lowered his head and sighed deeply.
Sigh. There is only one place where one can enter and exit the school freely.
Where?
Chen asked.
Officer Chen, please follow me.
The dean said. The principal and Zhao Gang followed behind them, heading toward a corner of the school playground. In the corner of the playground, there were rows of large, lush trees. Behind the trees was a high wall. They indeed saw traces of climbing on the wall. There was a pile of bricks and tiles stacked there. Seeing the bricks, Chen couldn't help but scold them sternly.
This is negligence on the school's part. How could you leave a pile of this stuff right here?
Usually, students would jump the wall here to go out to internet cafes.
Sigh.
The principal shook his head and sighed. He had actually thought about removing this pile of bricks, but the problem was he couldn't. It clearly provided convenience for certain delinquent students. but he never imagined it would become the spot where criminals committed a crime.
Slap, slap, slap. It's all my fault.
The dean slapped his own face repeatedly.
The principal mentioned it many times, asking me to move the bricks. But alas, I've been too busy with work lately. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. I'll have someone move all these bricks immediately.
You people. You were truly too negligent.
There wasn't much else Officer Chen could say.
So what do we do now?
Zhao Gang was worried about his daughter.
I need to go over the wall. Check the terrain and road conditions out there. See if there are any other clues, or maybe some surveillance cameras.
Officer Chen said. As he spoke, Officer Chen took a flying leap, easily landing on the pile of bricks, then vaulted over the high wall and jumped down on the other side. After Officer Chen jumped down, the other officer followed suit and jumped down as well.
Damn it. These guys are too brazen, too arrogant, to dare commit a kidnapping right here in my school.
The principal roared furiously after the two officers had jumped out. The dean of students sighed.
Those guys had black stockings over their heads. We couldn't see their faces at all. Sigh. I'll go out and take a look too.
With that, the dean vaulted over the wall. Zhao Gang, burning with anxiety, ignored the principal. Carrying his bag, he too vaulted over the wall. To his surprise, there was a pile of sand outside the wall. Zhao Gang didn't know whether to laugh or cry.
Xiao Song, you go check over there. See if there are any clues.
Officer Chen shouted to the other officer.
On it.
Officer Song got up and left. There were two paths outside the wall, one leading to the main road and the other to a small path. The dean said,
The direction Xiao Song went leads to the main road. There are plenty of surveillance cameras on both sides, so we can check the footage along the way. This way leads into the village, and there are no cameras there. I'm afraid.
You all go back. We'll contact you once we find any clues.
Officer Chun waved his hand.
Okay.
The dean replied helplessly. He turned his gaze to Zhao Gang and said,
Mr. Zhao, why don't you go rest in my office for a while?
Zhao Gang didn't know where else to go, so he followed the dean, climbing back into the school via the sand pile. This wall was ridiculous. The principal had already left. He certainly wouldn't have climbed over the wall. He was the principal, after all, and climbing walls with that big belly of his would have been truly inconvenient. Led by the dean, Zhao Gang arrived at his office. The dean poured him a glass of plain water. Zhao Gang had no desire to drink. He hadn't said much the whole time, nor did he know what to say. But in his heart, he had already cursed the kidnapper's ancestors back 18 generations. He was frantic with worry, but utterly helpless. If the kidnappers were in front of him right now, he would willingly offer his own flesh and blood to take his daughter's place and suffer her pain. Tears began to flow uncontrollably from the corners of his eyes. Afraid the dean would see, he hurriedly wiped away the tear stains.
Mr. Zhao, rest assured. With the police involved, they will definitely find Wen Xuan in no time. Furthermore, our school will fight these criminals to the end.
The dean said, patting his chest.
I think you should move all those bricks and sand piles in the corner. Don't give criminals any opportunity to commit crimes.
Zhao Gang said, his voice choking up.
We will. We'll handle it as soon as possible.
The dean replied hurriedly. Zhao Gang fell silent. He seemed to be waiting for the results of the police investigation.
Mr. Zhao, look. Why don't you have something to eat and drink? You are the head of the Zhao family. You cannot collapse, no matter what. If you fall, how will we explain it to Wen Xuan when she comes back?
The dean did have some humanity. When it came down to it, he sympathized with Zhao Gang's plight. His son was buried just yesterday, and today his daughter goes missing. If it were him, he probably would have collapsed already. That's one's own flesh and blood. Who could withstand such a blow?
Sigh. It never rains, but it pours.
The dean sighed, shaking his head.
Could I charge my phone a bit?
Zhao Gang asked.
Of course.
The dean found a charger for Zhao Gang. As soon as the phone charged up and turned on, it rang. Zhao Gang hurriedly looked and saw it was a call from his cousin Zhao Tai. His son was buried last night, and today he had disappeared. The family was likely in chaos by now. The first 7 days mourning period hadn't even passed, yet Zhao Gang had left home. What kind of behavior was that? To make matters worse, both Zhao Gang and his daughter Zhao Wenxuan had their phones turned off. How could the Zhao family not be worried?
Gongzi, where did you go? Do you understand the rules or not? Wenji was your son. Even though he's passed away, you can't disrespect him like this.
Zhao Tai unleashed a torrent of abuse right off the bat. The phone was on speaker, so the dean naturally heard it. Zhao Gang had bitterness he couldn't express. Suppressing his grief, and to the dean's dumbfounded astonishment, he feigned a relaxed tone and said,
I went to the capital to handle some paperwork. I'll be back in a few days. For now, I leave the family matters to you brothers. Sorry for the trouble.
Is the paperwork that urgent? Couldn't you wait until after the 7 days were up? You didn't even say a word before you left. You had all the relatives and friends worried sick. Fine, we'll handle the family matters. Finish the procedures and come back quickly.
Zhao Tai bellowed. After hanging up the phone, Zhao Gang felt a piercing pain in his heart. He had no way to voice the bitterness inside him.
Sigh.
The dean of students sighed, but said nothing. As noon approached, Officer Chun and Officer Song arrived at the dean's office. The principal had come as well. Officer Chun shook his head.
We haven't found any clues yet. We need to investigate further.
A look of disappointment appeared in Zhao Gang's eyes. Officer Song suddenly asked,
Wenxuan's father, I wonder. Have you offended anyone? Or perhaps, has your daughter?
Zhao Gang paused for a moment.
I'm just a miner. I spend my days deep in the mine shafts. How could I possibly offend anyone? As for my daughter...
Zhao Gang cast his gaze toward the principal. The principal hurriedly shook his head.
It's impossible for Wenxuan to have offended anyone. She has always been well-behaved and sensible with a kind heart. She never causes trouble. She is a role model in our school.
Officer Chin frowned.
Then this is rather strange.
Strange? Upon hearing this word, Zhao Gang recalled that his daughter had used the very same word before. After the two officers left, the principal said with an apologetic look,
Mr. Zhao, look, we've done our best, but the police haven't found any leads yet. Why don't you go back and wait for our news? Rest assured. We will do everything in our power to find Zhao Wenxuan as quickly as possible. She is one of our top students. How could we bear to let her suffer through this pain and torment?
Zhao Gang had no choice but to leave the school. Once outside, he had nowhere to go. He didn't know a soul here, so he just walked aimlessly along the road. How he wished his daughter would suddenly appear before his eyes. He took out his phone and dialed his daughter's number again. It still indicated that the phone was powered off. His heart began to ache again. He didn't know what kind of suffering his daughter was enduring at this moment. The more he thought about it, the more his heart ached. Tears quietly welled up in his eyes, streaming down his cheeks and dripping onto the ground. When he grew tired of walking, he sat on the curb, hugging his knees and weeping softly. He felt desolate and sorrowful. His mental state had reached the breaking point. He wanted nothing more than to smash his head against the utility pole and end it all. Yet, he dared not do it. Until he found his daughter, he couldn't do it, nor did he dare. Because he was afraid to die. He feared that if he died, he wouldn't be able to face his late wife or his son. Because he hadn't looked after his daughter properly. His heart felt as if it were being hacked by knives and axes. The pain was excruciating. This torment was unbearable. He wanted to find the culprits, skin them alive, drink their blood, gnaw on their flesh, and grind their bones to dust. He desperately wanted to know why these perpetrators had taken only his daughter and no one else. Why? Was it because they lusted after her beauty? His daughter was indeed somewhat pretty, but certainly not stunningly so. Moreover, like him, she dressed plainly. She didn't wear makeup or dress up. She wasn't seductive or sexy. She looked very ordinary. Why did these people have to take his daughter? His heart felt twisted in agony. His tears had run dry. Whir. The sound of spinning propellers came from overhead. He looked up instinctively and saw a helicopter roaring past above him. It was that blue and white helicopter again. He took a second look, then lowered his head, sinking back into his pain and torment. Darkness began to fall. The temperature dropped abruptly. The cold air penetrated his cotton coat, making him shiver uncontrollably. He was cold, hungry, and thirsty. He remembered the food in his pocket. He reached in to check the dish, only to find it frozen into a block of ice. The steamed bun was as hard as iron. He really wanted to just lie down by the roadside and freeze to death. But remembering his helpless daughter, he forced his frozen body to move and walked numbly toward the bus stop. An hour later, Zhao Gang arrived at the train station. After buying a return ticket, he sat in the waiting hall, quietly waiting for the time to pass. He didn't cry anymore. His tears had run dry. By the time he got home, it was the next morning. He was emaciated from hunger. His eyes were bloodshot. He stumbled as he walked, looking senile and frail, as if a gust of wind could knock him over at any moment. He had collapsed from illness. Today was the third day since his son's burial. His cousin, Zhao Tai, had come to the house early in the morning. Seeing Zhao Gang return and collapse onto the bed, Zhao Tai was terrified and immediately ordered someone to call a doctor. After examining him, the doctor said it was physical exhaustion. After some medicine and an 4-drip, Zhao Gang regained his strength. The icy room had been heated up by Zhao Tai until it was nice and warm.
Paperwork all done?
Zhao Tai asked. Zhao Gang nodded, then shook his head. He didn't know what to say.
Oh, come on. Pull yourself together. Even if the sky falls, don't you have us brothers here to hold it up? What's the use of looking so listless? Wenji is gone. But don't you still have Wenchuan? Don't you still have us brothers? Worst comes to worst, I'll sign my youngest son over to you.
Zhao Tai was indeed an open-hearted and generous man. Zhao Gang shook his head and said,
I'm fine now. You go back?
Well, if you go to the capital again, next time, take Wenrui with you. He's young and educated. Take him along, and you'll save yourself a lot of trouble, you know.
Zhao Wenrui was Zhao Tai's eldest son. He had graduated from university years ago and opened a training center in Shishan City. Business was good, and he had made some money.
Okay.
Zhao Gang nodded. A week passed in the blink of an eye. Zhao Gang received no news regarding his daughter. He called the principal, but the principal didn't pick up. He had been calling the principal every day these past few days. The principal was probably annoyed and couldn't be bothered to answer him anymore. After all, there had been no substantial progress. Early in the morning, after eating breakfast and greeting his cousin Zhao Tai, Zhao Gang took the train and headed for the capital again. He hadn't been mining these past few days. His son was dead. His daughter was missing. With no one left to rely on, why earn so much money? Mining all these years, he had saved over 200,000 yuan. He had even bought a house in the city for his son's marriage. Miners' wages were high, and his personal expenses were low. His daughter had government financial aid and school scholarships for university. After she got into college, the county, town, and village had awarded her over 100,000 in scholarship money. Although he didn't have a fortune, he wasn't short of money. The train arrived at the station. Zhao Gang, carrying his handbag, boarded the train. He brought a lot of things. He did not plan to return until he found his daughter this time. Sitting opposite him was a young couple. The couple seemed to be going to the capital for work, carrying many bags of luggage, large and small. Throughout the journey, the couple swiped through Douyin nonstop. Zhao Gang was in no mood to pay attention. He stared blankly out the window, silently praying for his daughter's safety. One mooncake managed to wipe out an entire ant nest. 19-year-old high school student diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Where did the missing children go? Were they taken by some black-hearted organization for organ transplants? Recently, children have been disappearing inexplicably. The audio from the couple's Douyin feed reached Zhao Gang's ears snippet by snippet. When they swiped to the part about children disappearing inexplicably, the couple stopped swiping. The woman said somewhat indignantly,
"These damn human traffickers are rotten to the core. Kidnapping children, selling human organs. They are truly a cancer on society. Sigh. It's all big shots operating behind the scenes. If they aren't kidnapped to Myanmar to have their kidneys harvested, they're caught and sold to some black-hearted organ transplant center. Sigh. Morals are going down the drain. It's pitiful.
The man sighed deeply.
These people really deserve to die.
The woman said angrily.
This is all too normal. A while back, wasn't there a story online? A man went to the hospital to have his appendix removed, and the hospital said he died of shock. Then, he was taken to the morgue. And immediately cremated. You think about it. Think about it carefully. Do you notice anything?
The woman shook her head.
Silly. It's likely this man's blood type matched some big shot, so the hospital pulled strings behind the scenes and harvested one of his organs.
The man said with a curl of his lip.
Huh. They can do that.
The woman was shocked.
Exactly.
The man added.
In the future, if something happens to me and the hospital claims something similar, you must see me if I'm alive and see my body if I'm dead. Never compromise easily. The shock they talk about might just be a needle to fake death. If you moved me to a private hospital, I might be saved. The
woman nodded. Hearing their conversation, Zhao Gang broke out in a cold sweat. This case, how was it different from his son's? One died of shock, one brain dead. In both cases, the family wasn't allowed to see them. Could it be that his son wasn't truly dead, but was swapped out through a backroom deal? Cold sweat beaded on Zhao Gang's forehead. An ray of hope instantly shot from his eyes. If what this man said was true, then his son, is he still alive? And his daughter was kidnapped, which indirectly meant she had disappeared. According to the man, if she disappeared, wouldn't that mean she was taken to an organ trafficking ring? Combining his son's brain death with his daughter's sudden kidnapping, he seemed to realize something. His whole body broke out in a cold sweat once again. Could it be that my son and daughter are being targeted by someone? Zhao Gang's expression changed abruptly. It was as if he saw hope. He subconsciously clenched his fists. But how should he investigate? Should he call the police? He instinctively thought of Officer Chun. Officer Chun had called him the day before yesterday to ask some questions regarding Zhao Wenxuan. He had specifically saved Officer Chen's mobile number. It was already 11 o'clock at night. Officer Chun had said that if he found any clues, he must report them immediately. He didn't dare delay. He stood up and went to the restroom in the train carriage, took out his phone, and dialed Officer Chen's number. It rang for over 10 seconds before Officer Chen finally picked up.
Officer Chen, I am Zhao Wenxuan's father, Zhao Gang.
I know. It's this late. Is there something wrong that you're calling now?
Officer Chen asked.
My son, Zhao Wenji, died just a few days ago. I assume you remember that, Officer Chun?
Of course I remember.
My son's death was because of a twisted ankle, but the hospital declared him brain dead. I rushed from Shishan to Jingdu, but didn't even get to see my son's face. The hospital sent his body to the morgue, then transferred it to the crematorium. By the time I arrived at the crematorium, I only saw his urn. It all happened too fast. They didn't give me a chance to see my son one last time.
For the first time ever, Zhao Gang's mind became incredibly clear.
What are you trying to say?
I seriously suspect that my son is still alive. The urn given to me might not contain my son's ashes.
Zhao Gang said.
And then?
Can I ask you something, Officer Chun?
Go ahead.
What usually happens to people after they go missing?
Zhao Gang asked.
Well, anything could happen. For example, extortion, or secret murder, or rape. There are too many possibilities.
Officer Chen said ambiguously.
Then is it possible that they were targeted by some critically ill big shot to have their organs harvested?
Zhao Gang asked. Although Zhao Gang was uneducated, he wasn't a fool or an idiot. He only suffered from a lack of education, which was why he went down the mines to earn money to support his family. If he didn't have good genes, how could his children have gotten into university?
This.
Officer Chen's voice stalled. There really was such a possibility, but he couldn't say it explicitly.
combining my daughter's disappearance and my son being inexplicably cremated. Haven't you noticed anything, Officer Chun?
Zhao Gang's mind suddenly had an epiphany.
It seems. This is a major case.
Officer Chin's expression suddenly became grave. This was by no means an ordinary case. It involved suspected murder, kidnapping, human trafficking, organ trading. Officer Chin realized that this case was not something he could handle alone. There was definitely a massive industrial chain behind this. There might even be some unknown big tigers backing it. It seemed necessary to petition his superiors. Officer Chin dared not make a decision privately, nor did he dare to investigate rashly. He had to ask for instructions and see how his superiors would arrange things. Acting rashly would inevitably land him in deep trouble. He had a wife, children, and a happy family. He had to consider things from his family's standpoint. The call ended. Zhao Gang zoned out in the restroom for a while until there was a knock on the door from outside, snapping him out of his trance. He indeed didn't have much education, but he realized that his children seemed to have fallen into a passive situation. His son was facing this scenario. His daughter was also facing this scenario. Of course, these were just his guesses. He actually hoped things were developing in this direction. That way, with close cooperation from the police, he might be able to save his children. What a world is so unfair. Is it that other people's lives are not lives? Early the next morning, after the train arrived in Jingdu City, Zhao Gang took a bus to the police station where Officer Chen worked. Upon arriving at the station, he learned that Officer Chen had gone to the bureau. Zhao Gang called, but Officer Chen didn't pick up. Zhao Gang simply sat at the entrance of the police station, waiting quietly for Officer Chen to return. He didn't know where to start investigating next. He needed to ask Officer Chen. He had no leads. His mind was like a pot of porridge, messy and chaotic. He had intended to go to the school, but if even Officer Chen didn't have any clues, the school certainly wouldn't know. Going there would be a waste of time. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Officer Chen drove his official car back to the station. Seeing Zhao Gang sitting on the steps at the entrance, Officer Chen hurriedly walked over.
Officer Chen.
Zhao Gang wiped the dry bun crumbs from the corner of his mouth and hurriedly stood up to greet him.
Come to my office first.
Officer Chen said, his expression somewhat gloomy. Zhao Gang hurriedly followed Officer Chen to his office.
I reported what you described last night to my superiors. They are taking it very seriously and are preparing to open a case. If everything you said is true, they plan to form a special task force to start by investigating your son's death first, because his death was far too suspicious.
Officer Chen said with a grave expression.
Suspicious?
Zhao Gang recalled his daughter's words and couldn't help but say,
My daughter also said before that my son's death was a bit suspicious. I went back and checked a dictionary, so I finally know what suspicious means. Perhaps. The moment I arrived in Jingdu that day, I should have called the police immediately. Sigh. That's the price of being uneducated.
It's not too late to investigate now. But if we launch an investigation, you need to cooperate with us. And?
Officer Chen paused here, his expression hardening.
This case. I'm afraid it isn't as simple as you or I imagine. You need to be mentally prepared.
All right. This time, coming to the capital. If I don't find my daughter, if I don't find out the cause of my son's death, I will never go back. Even if I die far from home, I will pursue this to the end.
Zhao Gang clenched his fists and spoke fiercely.
I understand your predicament.
Officer Chen said.
Now, I need to establish some facts.
Just ask Officer Chen. I, Zhao Gang, will absolutely tell you everything I know without holding anything back.
Zhao Gang started using idioms. He had learned these phrases from television.
Now we need to know how your son was injured, where he was injured, and who else was with him when he was injured.
Officer Chen asked. Hearing this, Zhao Gang was stumped. He knew where on his body his son was injured. But as for the specific location where the injury happened, he didn't seem to know, nor did he know who was around at the time. Only his daughter knew these details clearly. But the problem was, his daughter had already been kidnapped.
This. Officer Chun, I only know my son sprained his ankle while playing basketball, but as for where he sprained it, or who he was playing with, only my daughter knows. I only rushed to Jingdu after receiving an urgent call from my daughter.
Zhao Gang said, staring wide-eyed. Officer Chen reached out and rubbed his forehead, seemingly having a bit of a headache.
Then do you know where your son lived? Or where he studied? Do you know the contact information of any of his friends in Jingdu?
Officer Chen asked again.
This. I do know where he lived. He was studying for graduate school recently, so he basically didn't go out. Except for playing basketball, he stayed in his apartment almost every day preparing for the exams.
Zhao Gang knew this much. He spoke with his children often.
That makes things easier. Take me to where he lived first.
Officer Chen said.
Okay.
His son lived in Huajin community. He had stayed there for one night. After he stated the name of the complex, Officer Chen turned on the GPS, entered the name, Huajin community, and then took him and Officer Song along to head there. Police officers always went out in pairs at minimum. Half an hour later, the three of them drove to Huajin community. Entering the complex, a basketball court immediately came into view. Seeing the court, Zhao Gang hurriedly said,
My son usually played basketball right here.
As he spoke, he pointed at the basketball court. Officer Chun turned his head to look at the court and noticed 5 or 6 young men playing basketball with great passion.
Let's go upstairs and take a look first.
Officer Chen said. Guided by Zhao Gang, the car stopped in front of a building. The three got out, locked the doors, and approached a unit entrance. The entrance door wasn't locked. Most of the people living in this complex were tenants. Zhao Gang entered first, pressed the elevator button, and then hit the button for the 9th floor. His son lived on the 9th floor. As mentioned before, although he was uneducated, he wasn't stupid. This was an apartment building. When the three arrived upstairs, the door to Zhao Wenji's apartment was tightly closed. Although Zhao Wenji had passed away, Zhao Gang hadn't had the time to retrieve his son's belongings yet. The door was shut. Officer Chun couldn't just break it down, so he instructed Officer Song to go to the property management office to find a landlord's phone number. Not long after, the landlord followed Officer Song upstairs. The landlord was a small old man in his 60s. Arriving at the door, he didn't ask too many questions. He simply took out a spare key and opened the room door. The room was very clean and tidy. Clothes, quilts, and books were all stacked very neatly. There was no trash on the floor, either. It wasn't hard to see that Zhao Wenji was a young man who loved cleanliness and hygiene. There was a photo placed on the desk, and it stood for sunny, cheerful young men. Inside the photo frame was a picture of Zhao Gang's son. Seeing his son's sunny and handsome appearance, Zhao Gang choked up and said,
This is my son. The other 3 are his good friends.
The landlord interjected.
These 3 kids were living here just a few days ago too, but now they've all moved out.
Why?
Officer Chen asked.
Well, I don't know either. I asked them, but they didn't say.
The landlord shook his head.
Then do you have their phone numbers?
Officer Song asked.
Yes, I have one kid's number.
Saying this, the landlord took out his mobile phone to look up the number.
What was this kid's name again?
The old man was getting on in years, and his memory seemed a bit poor. After searching for a while, he finally said,
Right, that's him. Luo Xiaoshui. Plays basketball really well. His mobile number is 180. 6,555.
Heh. A number with that many repeating digits? This kid's family background isn't ordinary.
Officer Song couldn't help but remark.
Do kids from good families all use this kind of phone number?
Zhao Gang asked subconsciously. His experience was limited, so he seemed a bit curious. Officer Song actually didn't know how to reply. Officer Chen punched in the number and dialed Luo Xiaoshui's phone. The other side picked up very quickly.
Hello.
Hello. Is this Luo Xiaoshui?
Officer Chen asked.
Yes, I am. Who is this?
Luo Xiaoshui asked.
Do you know Zhao Wenji?
I don't know him.
Luo Xiaoshui flatly denied it.
I am Chen Yang from the Chaoan police station. I found a photo of you guys together in Zhao Wenji's room. I know you know him. If you try to deceive me, you will be held legally responsible.
Officer Chen said sharply.
I.
Luo Xiaoshui began to panic.
You don't need to be afraid. I'm just going to ask you a few simple questions. You just need to answer truthfully.
Officer Chen said.
Okay. Ask away.
Were you there when Zhao Wenji injured his ankle?
Yes.
Where were you playing basketball?
Huajin Community Basketball Court.
How many people were present at the time?
6 or 7, maybe.
Do you have the contact information for these people?
I only have 2.
Very good. Give me the contact info for those 2. Also, head over to the Chaoan police station to give a statement. We will wait for you there. Once the statement is done, you can leave.
Officer Chen said.
Okay.
Luo Xiaoshui provided 2 more mobile numbers. The call ended. Officer Chen dialed the numbers one by one, asked for details, and told these 2 to go to the station to give statements as well.
May I ask, officer, has something happened?
The little old landlord asked suspiciously. Officer Chen smiled and said,
Nothing major. Zhao Wenji injured his ankle and is currently recovering in the hospital.
Naturally, Officer Chen would not tell the truth.
Oh, is it serious then? These kids, really. I knew it. Their rent hadn't even expired yet. I was wondering why they suddenly moved out.
The little old man shook his head, looking helpless.
May I ask, how much longer until Zhao Wenji's rent expires?
Zhao Gang suddenly asked.
About 2 months left. He paid 6 months of rent in one lump sum. Said he was studying here, preparing for the postgraduate entrance exam. Postgraduate exams are good things.
The little old man sighed.
Then, could you make me another key? My son lost his key.
Zhao Gang said hurriedly. He could stay here for the time being these next few days.
Lost the key. That's easily fixed. But making a key costs money. 20 yuan for one.
The little old man said.
Here is 20 yuan.
Zhao Gang didn't hesitate. He pulled a 20 from his pocket and handed it to the little old man. The little old man happily took the bill and gave Zhao Gang a key. Officer Chen shook his head upon seeing this. After locking the door, the group of 3 took the elevator downstairs and headed to the police station. Once at the police station, it wasn't long before Luo Xiaoshui and the other 2 arrived. The 3 of them came together. Seeing Zhao Wenji's father, Zhao Gang, all 3 lowered their heads. They had met Zhao Gang once. That time, the siblings had taken Zhao Gang on a special tour of the capital, and Zhao Gang had stayed one night in Huajin community. The group had even thrown a welcome dinner for him. What a pity. Everything was just passing clouds now. Seeing these 3 kids, Zhao Gang didn't know what to say either. He lowered his head and chose silence. The 3 kids went into 3 separate rooms and began giving their statements. After the statements were finished, the 3 kids seemed to feel guilty. They came up to Zhao Gang, said,
Sorry,
and then ran out of the police station as if fleeing. They were all still young. They had never encountered anything like this before. This must be what is meant by the tea cooling once the guest has left. Zhao Gang wanted to cry, yet felt a sudden urge to laugh. The ways of the world are fickle. He couldn't blame them for being heartless. After the 3 children left, Officer Chen called Zhao Gang into his office.
The statements from the 3 kids are ready. They all say Zhao Wenji suffered a sprained ankle, and there was no bleeding at the injury site. Furthermore, I just consulted a friend at the hospital. He said, a sprained ankle is usually not linked to brain death.
Officer Chen stated.
Is it also usually?
Zhao Gang couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Officer Chen didn't seem to catch on, unsure why Zhao Gang was laughing coldly, so he continued.
The nerves in the ankle and the nerves in the brain, one is at the top, the other at the bottom. They have nothing to do with each other. So, We are preparing to move on the orthopedics department at Kyoto Hospital. Our first target of investigation is the diagnosing physician, Lu Hai. But for your own safety, I hope you won't go anywhere for the next few days. Just wait for us to peel back the layers and find the real culprit behind the scenes.
Currently, they couldn't find any clues regarding Zhao Wenxuan's disappearance. They could only start with Zhao Wenji's death. After leaving the police station, Zhao Gang took a bus back to the rental room where his son lived. There weren't many things in the room: clothes, duvet covers, books, pens, and the like. Simple daily necessities, simple study tools. There were no snacks in the room. It was evident that his son was very frugal. Seeing this, Zhao Gang felt a sharp sting in his nose. He realized once again how truly incompetent he was. He hadn't provided his son with a good living environment. He hadn't provided a good study atmosphere. He hadn't provided enough pocket money. Perhaps he really had been too frugal. He had saved money, waiting to buy a house and a car for his son to get married. The house had been bought, the money was mostly saved, but his son was gone. How terribly ironic. Sitting at his son's desk, Zhao Gang stared blankly at the photograph of his boy. He suddenly realized that after all these years, he and his children didn't seem to have a single photo together. He remembered the last time they came to Kyoto for a visit. His daughter had clamored for a photo, but he had refused with some nonsensical excuse. Thinking about it now, Zhao Gang wanted to slap himself hard enough to leave a bloody handprint on both cheeks. At the time, he had been very resistant to taking pictures. Because his family was incomplete, his wife had died early, so what was the point of taking a photo? Thinking back now, he should have listened to his children's wishes. He should have followed their suggestions. They might have lost their mother, but didn't they still have a father? They just wanted to give their father a simple joy. Tears welled up in Zhao Gang's eyes once more, flowing uncontrollably.
Xian, where are you? Xiaoji, are you alive or dead? Dear God, how has my Zhao family offended you? Why make my two poor children suffer so? Can I trade places with them? They are still so young. If there is a price to pay, take it out on me. I will slave away like an ox or a horse. Just please, do not let them suffer.
Zhao Gang prayed silently in his heart. Tears blurred his vision, dripping onto the floor, drip, drop. Just as Zhao Gang left the police station, Officer Chun and Officer Song drove to Kyoto Hospital. Dressed in plain clothes, they entered the orthopedic ward. Dr. Lu happened to be on leave. After obtaining Dr. Lu's mobile number from the reception desk, the two left the hospital. On the way back to the station, Officer Chun dialed Dr. Lu's number.
Hello, is this Dr. Lu Hai from the orthopedics department at Kyoto Hospital?
Officer Chin asked politely.
Yes, that's me. How can I help you?
Dr. Lu was also very polite.
Hello, I am Officer Chen Yang from the Chaoan Police Station. We have received a homicide case and need your cooperation with the investigation. Would it be convenient for you to come to the station right now? If not, we can come to you.
Officer Chin said.
Well, I'm on leave today. I'm not in the city. Can this wait until tomorrow?
No. A human life is at stake. We cannot delay for even a moment.
Officer Chin interrupted him forcefully, his tone solemn.
What do you want to investigate?
Dr. Lu asked.
The case regarding Zhao Wenji's brain death.
Officer Chun spoke frankly. Upon hearing this, Dr. Lu fell into immediate silence.
Dr. Lu.
I'm here.
Dr. Lu replied, his expression composed.
I wanted to ask, how does a sprained ankle result in a diagnosis of brain death? Is there a connection?
Officer Chen asked.
A sprained ankle indeed cannot directly cause brain death. However, after we finished the surgery, Zhao Wenji was unconscious. Upon examination, we discovered that Zhao Wenji had become brain dead during the procedure. Besides, when he was admitted for the operation, his sister signed the surgical consent form. Surgeries can have unexpected complications. Surely Officer Chun is aware of that.
Dr. Lu stated emphatically. Officer Chen frowned.
In that case, after Zhao Wenji was declared brain dead, why didn't you wait for the family to arrive before taking it upon yourselves to transport the body to the crematorium for incineration? Was it that you didn't want the family to see it? Or is there some shameful secret hiding amongst you?
Officer Chun asked sharply.
Officer Chun, what exactly are you implying? Do you actually think I killed Zhao Wenji?
Dr. Liu was getting anxious.
Dr. Liu, I never said that. I'm merely seeking a reasonable explanation for the family. Besides, as far as I know, from the time Zhao Wenji was admitted to check his ankle injury to the moment his body was cremated, only 4 or 5 hours passed, correct? Doesn't that timeline seem a bit too rushed?
Officer Chun asked with a cold sneer.
I have some things to attend to here. I'm hanging up.
Dr. Liu seemed unable to handle the pressure and hung up the phone without another word. Officer Song sneered.
It looks like this Dr. Liu is almost certainly dirty.
It all depends on who his backer is.
Officer Chun said, sounding like he had a headache.
Backer?
Do you really think a lowly orthopedic surgeon could commit murder for money so casually on his own?
Officer Chun had been in the force for many years. There wasn't much he hadn't seen. Zhao Gang's description the previous night had made him realize this case was not simple. That was why he had gone to the bureau specifically for a meeting this morning to discuss the case regarding the death and disappearance of Zhao Gang's children. The higher-ups hadn't given a clear answer, only instructing Officer Chun to investigate and see what the situation actually was.
So, what do we do now?
Officer Song asked.
What else can we do? Take the recording, go to the procuratorate and apply for an arrest warrant. Then we'll head to Dr. Liu's home and invite him to the station for a cup of tea.
Officer Chun immediately turned the car around and headed for the procuratorate. The arrest warrant was approved quickly. Officer Chun also located Dr. Liu's home address. The two drove to the suburbs and arrived in front of a grand, luxurious villa. Seeing the opulent villa, the two were endlessly amazed. They hadn't imagined that a lowly orthopedic surgeon would be living in such a magnificent residence. A villa like this, in a place like the capital where land is worth its weight in gold, must be worth at least 50 or 60 million. That was an amount of money that small-time police officers like them couldn't even dream of in this lifetime. They knocked on the door. The villa door opened automatically. A middle-aged man wearing gold-rimmed glasses walked out with a gloomy expression.
Dr. Liu, hi.
Officer Chin called out instinctively.
That's me.
The middle-aged man replied with a displeased look.
This is an arrest warrant. You are a suspect in a murder case. Please cooperate and come with us to the police station.
Officer Chin said.
Aren't I coming out?
Liu Hai said with a dark face and an unfriendly tone. Officer Song said sinisterly.
I thought you weren't in the city? How come you're suddenly back?
Is this considered inside the capital city limits?
Liu Hai asked coldly. Officer Song was new after all. Facing this kind of slippery old fox, he could only shoot him a fierce glare. Then, remembering something, he couldn't help but say,
Dr. Liu, your business must be doing quite well. To be able to live in such a big villa?
Can't I say I'm renting it?
Liu Hai asked with a sneer.
No. Because you're on record. This villa is in your name.
Officer Song said.
Can't I say I'm a capital local? Can't I say that I have more than just this one villa in my name?
Dr. Liu retorted angrily.
Well, fine. You're the rich guy, do as you please.
Officer Song rolled his eyes, seemingly displeased inside, and huffed indignantly.
You make it sound like no one else is a local. A villa like yours. My family has no fewer than 5.
Officer Song, talk less, do more.
Officer Chin admonished. The car arrived at the police station entrance without obstruction. Liu Hai was locked in the interrogation room. Officer Chun and Officer Song were in charge of the Zhao Gang case, so the entire interrogation was conducted by the two of them.
Dr. Liu, please explain to us reasonably, after Zhao Wenji was declared brain dead, why did you not wait for the family to arrive before taking the liberty of transporting the body to the crematorium for cremation?
Officer Song asked with an aggressive, overbearing manner. Lu Hai remained tight-lipped. Officer Chun kept a straight face and said,
In the following Q&A, if you continue to choose silence, we will take it as an admission of guilt.
Lu Hai still kept his mouth shut. He seemed to be playing the stalling game. Officer Chin had been on the job for many years. What kind of old slippery eel hadn't he seen? Sly characters like him generally kept their mouths shut when they came in here, because keeping your mouth shut was the best form of protection. Only by keeping his mouth shut could he rest easy. Now, they had to use the cremation as a starting point to follow the trail. After all, Dr. Lu hadn't notified the deceased's family before the cremation took place, nor had he allowed the family to see the deceased one last time. Such haste, didn't it prove they had something to hide? Now, they were hoping to pry information from Lu Hai regarding the mysterious organization behind this, or perhaps some big shot calling the shots. They strongly suspected that Lu Hai was connected to an organ trafficking ring. If they could bring down this ring, there was a good chance many missing persons cases could be cracked. There were too many piled-up missing persons cases. A massive stack of cold cases had accumulated over the years. If they could bust this organ trafficking ring, it would be a major commendation for Officers Chun and Song.
Is there some dirty secret you're hiding behind all this?
Officer Chen asked. Lu Hai closed his eyes and remained silent.
If you don't speak, I'll take that as an admission that you're hiding something.
Officer Song declared. Lu Hai still remained silent. Officer Song frowned and suddenly shouted.
Lu Hai, do you realize you are suspected of murder? If you come clean, we can be lenient. But if you remain stubborn and we find the evidence ourselves, what awaits you is a bullet.
Lu Hai still didn't speak, but a look of disdain curled the corners of his mouth. He seemed to have powerful backing.
Lu Hai, I respect that you're a doctor, but don't push your luck. If you cooperate with our questioning, you'll be out of here in no time. Right now, I just want to know, why did you cremate the body privately without seeking the family's consent?
Officer Chun refused to let this point go. Lu Hai couldn't help but chuckle softly.
Do I really need to answer that? You can ask the person in charge of the crematorium. I'm not the one running the crematorium, so how should I know why it was cremated so quickly? I was merely fulfilling my duty. I just sent the body to the morgue.
Hearing this, Officer Chin's brow furrowed instantly. This guy was truly a slippery character, passing the buck already. But upon hearing Dr. Lu's words, Officer Chin realized he really had overlooked the crematorium manager. Logically speaking, for the cremation of a body, they should look into the crematorium, not Lu Hai. After all, Lu Hai only determined the life or death of the patient. He wasn't responsible for the actual cremation.
Then, who declared Zhao Wenji brain dead?
Officer Chin asked.
I did.
And who ordered the body to be sent to the hospital morgue?
Also me.
And who sent it to the crematorium for immediate cremation?
Space in the hospital morgue is limited. There was no room left. If we didn't send it to the crematorium, what were we supposed to do? Leave it out in the hospital hallway to dry.
Lu Hai began to use twisted logic.
So you're saying, whatever happened at the crematorium has absolutely nothing to do with you, right?
Officer Chin asked.
Correct.
You really are sparing with your words. Would it kill you to say a bit more?
Officer Song couldn't help but curse. Lu Hai stared at him coldly and said nothing.
Officer Song, issue the order immediately to arrest the person in charge of the crematorium. I want to see exactly what that guy is up to. On what grounds did he privately order a cremation without the family's consent?
Officer Chin said coldly.
Done.
Officer Song turned and walked out.
I'm thirsty. I want water.
Lu Hai suddenly said. Officer Chin glared at him fiercely, then poured him a glass of water. After drinking the water, Lu Hai spoke again.
My stomach doesn't feel right. I need to use the bathroom.
You're a lot of trouble.
Officer Chin unlocked the handcuffs and took Lu Hai to the restroom. After returning to the interrogation room, Lu Hai said,
I'm hungry.
Starve for now. I haven't eaten either.
Officer Chun said impatiently.
You are mistreating a suspect. I have the right to sue you.
Lu Hai didn't seem like someone to be trifled with either. Officer Chun was furious, but he turned and went out to order takeout for Lu Hai. Not long after, the takeout arrived. Ring, ring. Officer Chin's phone suddenly rang. Officer Chun took out his phone and saw that it was Officer Song calling. He hesitated for a moment, then stepped out of the interrogation room to answer.
Hello.
Officer Chen. The person in charge of the crematorium. He's dead.
Huh? What did you say? The crematorium manager is dead? How did he die? When?
Officer Chun was shocked.
Half an hour ago. He was hit by a car.
Officer Song said, a chill running down his spine.
Is the information confirmed?
Absolutely confirmed. The body has already been sent to the hospital morgue. His lower body was smashed to pulp. He was dead before he even reached the hospital. Another manager at the crematorium just said. The body has already been moved to the hospital morgue. We're heading there right now.
Officer Song said.
Good. Remember what the crematorium manager looks like. Once you get to the morgue, make sure you verify the deceased's face.
Officer Chin replied.
Got it. I already took a picture of the manager's ID badge. We're just going to the morgue to confirm the identity. Also, I've sent you the video of the accident scene. Take a look at it first.
Officer Song replied. After hanging up, Officer Chun impatiently opened WeChat to check the accident video Officer Song had sent. In the video, a black Mercedes S300 traveling north stopped at an intersection for a red light. Just as the light turned green, a dump truck turned the corner too sharply and tipped over. The toppling truck crushed the front hood of the Mercedes. The accident had occurred 2 hours ago. It looked like a pure accident, but Officer Chin couldn't be sure if it really was an accident. The crash in the video looked too realistic. It didn't look staged at all, to tip over and crush exactly the front hood. If it had been intentional, the truck most likely would have run the red light and rammed the Mercedes just after the light turned green and the car started moving. If this really was intentional, the truck driver's skill was truly terrifying. After watching the video, Officer Chun slumped into his chair. This case seemed to be getting bigger. It was far from as simple as he had imagined. There must be some unknown, powerful figure pulling the strings from the shadows. The crematorium manager's death was just too convenient. He died in a car accident exactly when Chun was preparing to interrogate him. This effectively cut off the lead Officer Chun was following. This was no coincidence. It was clearly deliberate. So, why did the crematorium manager suddenly get into an accident? And why was that person in such a hurry to kill him? Officer Chun fell into deep thought. Suddenly, he cast his gaze toward the interrogation room. That was it. Lu Hai must have tipped someone off. That person got spooked and had the crematorium manager killed immediately. Dead men tell no tales. It seemed the only way to crack this case was to focus on Lu Hai. However, Lu Hai was cautious with his words and actions, and no evidence of murder could be found in his jurisdiction. You could argue that an ankle injury shouldn't cause brain death, but they claimed brain death occurred during the surgery. Conveniently, Zhao Wenji's sister had also signed the pre-surgery agreement. This effectively gagged Officer Chun. Whether brain death actually occurred during the surgery, no one knew except Dr. Lu. Without concrete evidence, he could only detain Dr. Lu for 24 hours. If he couldn't find evidence within that time, he would have to let him go. Officer Chin clutched his head with both hands, racking his brain for another breakthrough regarding Dr. Lu. Suddenly, he remembered something. He whipped out his phone and called Officer Song.
Where are you right now?
Just arrived at Jingdu Hospital.
Good. After you examine the crematorium manager's body, go to the orthopedics department immediately. Find Zhao Wenji's surgical records and see which doctors and nurses participated in his surgery.
Officer Chun said calmly.
Will do.
Officer Song responded. After hanging up, Officer Chun entered the interrogation room. Lu Hai had finished his meal. Seeing Officer Chun enter, he reached up, wiped the grease from the corner of his mouth, and said,
The food wasn't bad. When I get out and have some time, I'll treat you to a feast, Officer Chun.
Officer Chun chuckled softly.
Then I'll say thank you in advance. However, I want to know, who participated in Zhao Wenji's surgery?
Just me. It was such a minor surgery, I just needed to correct a dislocated bone. Who would have thought that after the bone was reset, Zhao Wenji would die right there on the operating table? It gave me quite a scare at the time. Sigh, poor kid.
Lu Hai shook his head, appearing to pity Zhao Wenji. Officer Chin's phone rang again. It was Officer Song. Officer Chun walked out of the interrogation room and answered the call.
Hello.
The records show Lu Hai was responsible for the entire duration of Zhao Wenji's surgery. I also asked the other doctors in orthopedics. They all said Lu Hai handled it alone. They said it was a minor surgery and didn't require any assistance.
Officer Song said. Officer Chin nodded.
The person lying in the morgue is indeed the crematorium manager. The face is a perfect match, but his lower body has been reduced to a pulp.
Officer Song reported.
All right, come on back.
Officer Chun said wearily.
Can we find any other leads now?
Officer Song asked. Officer Chun shook his head and said,
It's seamless. There's nothing to investigate. Unless we keep eyes on Dr. Lu 24/7. Only he knows if he was pulling any strings behind the scenes.
Oh, that's right. There is one place we seem to have overlooked.
Officer Song suddenly said.
Where?
The ER.
The ER?
Take a look at the statements from the 3 kids. They mentioned being sent to the ER first, but then, for some reason, he was transferred to orthopedics.
Officer Song said suddenly. Hearing this, Officer Chin rushed into the office and pulled out the transcripts of the 3 children's statements. Sure enough, they were identical. Zhao Wenji was sent to the ER first. The ER doctor took x-rays and said the ankle was dislocated, requiring surgery to reset it. However, for a full recovery, hospitalization was necessary. That was why Zhao Wenji was admitted to the orthopedic ward. But it appeared he was declared brain dead before the admission paperwork was even processed. That was indeed suspicious. After some thought, Officer Chun returned to the interrogation room and asked,
Dr. Lu, there's one point I can't quite figure out.
Ask whatever you like, Officer Chun. I, Lu Hai, will tell you everything I know without holding anything back. I guarantee my full cooperation.
Lu Hai said, feigning candor.
Right. Zhao Wenji went to the ER first, correct?
Yes.
Why was he transferred to the orthopedic ward?
Although his ankle was sprained, the ER doctor said the injury was quite severe, even the ligaments were damaged. After resetting the ankle, he needed hospitalization. Otherwise, internal bleeding would cause swelling and pain, and it might leave him with permanent damage. So.
But it seems Zhao Wenji hadn't completed the admission paperwork, had he? You were in such a rush to perform the reduction surgery. Weren't you afraid he'd refuse to pay once he recovered? Hospitals generally don't rush into surgery without payment, do they?
Officer Chin asked.
That's all in the past. Hospitals nowadays are very humane. Patients come first. Besides, Zhao Wenji was a proper ray of sunshine, not the type to stiff us. And the kid was in agonizing pain when he came in. I couldn't bear to watch. So I prioritized his surgery.
Lu Hai's answer was truly seamless. Officer Chin couldn't find a single crack in it. It sounded completely plausible. Could it be? Did Zhao Wenji really suffer brain death during the surgery? But remembering the crematorium incident, Officer Chun felt it was incredibly fishy. It was a pity the crematorium manager was dead. Dead men tell no tales. In the end, Lu Hai was released.
Officer Chun, thanks for the takeout. I'll treat you to a big meal sometime.
Before leaving Dr. Lu waved his hand and walked out of the police station. Officer Chin gave a light chuckle, but said nothing. After Lu Hai left, Officer Chun returned to the office. Officer Song asked,
What should we do next? This Lu Hai is too cunning. It's practically impossible to get anything out of him.
Yeah.
Officer Chun took a sip of tea and rubbed his temples. Then, remembering something, he asked,
Which traffic police brigade is handling the crematorium manager's car accident?
It's our own Chowan Traffic Police Brigade.
Officer Song replied.
Did they find anything suspicious about the accident?
Officer Chen asked.
No. It was all seamless. The driver of the muck truck was a 50-year-old uncle. He's simple and honest. After the accident, he was so scared he hid in the truck and didn't dare come out. It didn't look intentional at all.
Officer Song said.
That makes things difficult. The best person to provide a breakthrough was the crematorium manager. With him dead, this is really going to be tough.
Officer Chun said, clutching his head.
Say, should we pay a visit to the crematorium manager's house?
Officer Song suddenly asked.
What for?
Officer Chin was puzzled.
We can talk to his family to find out who he was usually in contact with. Then we can question them one by one. We're bound to find some clues.
Officer Song said.
Huh, that's not a bad idea. Wait, was the crematorium manager's phone found at the accident scene?
Officer Chin asked hurriedly, remembering the phone.
That. The victim's phone and all belongings in the car were taken by the Chowan Brigade.
Officer Song said.
Let's go. Start the car immediately. Come with me to the Chowan Brigade. His phone must contain exactly what we're looking for.
Officer Chin's spirits lifted. Immediately, the two drove to the Chowan Traffic Police Brigade. There, they met Captain Wong, who was in charge of the accident. Officer Chun and Captain Wong were old acquaintances. They exchanged greetings upon meeting. Upon learning that Officer Chun had a homicide case linked to the manager of the crematorium, Captain Wong, without a word, led Officer Chin to the room where personal effects were stored. The mobile phone was switched off. After Officer Chun turned it on, he was unable to access the interface due to a passcode. Left with no other choice, the two sought permission from the chief before heading to a mobile phone shop to have it unlocked. After a flurry of activity, the phone was unlocked. Officer Chun couldn't wait. He opened the call log and the contacts list, only to discover that there were no saved numbers or call records. It was obvious that all call records had been deleted. There was a WeChat app on the phone. It was currently logged in, but contained only chats about domestic trivia, promotional advertisements, and cremation business. The contact Officer Chun was looking for was nowhere to be found. Officer Chun asked if the call records could be recovered. The technician said it was possible, but the process might take a day or two. After all, there was too much data on the phone, and it had to be recovered piece by piece. Officer Chun called the chief again to explain the situation. The chief was very cooperative and agreed without hesitation. However, the chief added,
Make sure to bring the phone back before the deceased family comes to handle the final arrangements, so as to avoid unnecessary trouble.
Officer Chun agreed. By the time he returned home, it was already 9 o'clock in the evening. Officer Chun took a cold shower. Just as he stepped out of the bathroom, his precious daughter handed him a gift box.
Daddy, an uncle just brought a gift for you. He said you have to open it yourself.
Officer Chin's daughter was only 6 years old and attended Chowan kindergarten. A gift? Officer Chun was stunned. Who would be sending him a gift this late at night? In all these years, he had never received a gift like this. Officer Chun subconsciously went on alert.
Who's sending you gifts at this hour? It isn't from some mistress on the side, is it?
Officer Chin's wife walked out of the bedroom, speaking with a teasing expression. Officer Chin laughed heartily.
Yeah, I'd like to know which mistress sent me a gift, too.
Daddy, then should I open it?
His precious daughter asked.
Don't. Let Daddy open it.
Before the word "it" had even left his mouth, his daughter had already untied the ribbon and lifted the lid of the gift box. Upon seeing the gift inside, Officer Chin's expression changed drastically. He rushed forward, shoved his daughter aside, and threw his body over the box, roaring,
"Run!"
His wife was startled. She hurriedly grabbed their daughter's hand and, with a violent shove, pushed her into the bedroom. She herself had no time to escape before a deafening explosion erupted from beneath Officer Chin's body. Zhao Gang lay in his son's rental apartment, tossing and turning, unable to sleep all night. It wasn't until past 4 in the morning that he drifted into a fitful slumber. When he finally woke up, the sun was already high in the sky. He called Officer Chun, but the phone prompted that it was switched off. Unable to sit still, he got up, had a quick breakfast downstairs, and headed to the Chaoan police station. The atmosphere in the police station made Zhao Gang uncomfortable. There was a deathly silence inside, giving off a heavy, oppressive sense of suffocation. Zhao Gang swallowed hard, cautiously entered the duty room, and asked softly,
"Hello, officer. May I ask, did Officer Chen come to work today?"
The officer sighed deeply, his expression filled with grief.
Officer Chen is gone.
Officer Chen is gone? What do you mean? Did he quit?
Zhao Gang asked, dumbfounded.
Regarding your case, contact Officer Song for the time being. Here is his mobile number. Call him if you need anything.
As he spoke, the officer handed Zhao Gang a small slip of paper with Officer Song's contact information written on it. Zhao Gang was unaware of what had happened to Officer Chen. He thought Officer Chen had really resigned. He didn't say anything more, took the slip of paper, walked to the main gate of the police station, and dialed Officer Song's number.
"Hello. Who is this?"
Officer Song's somewhat downcast voice came from the other end.
"Hello, is this Officer Song? This is Zhao Gang."
Zhao Gang greeted him politely.
"Sigh."
Officer Song let out a long sigh on the other end, seeming as though he wanted to say something but held back.
"May I ask, why did Officer Chen quit? Is it because my case is too thorny?"
Zhao Gang seemed to be affected by the mood, and his spirits sank a little as well.
"Officer Chen is dead."
Officer Song hesitated for a moment before finally speaking the truth.
"Ah, dead?"
Zhao Gang was greatly shocked and instinctively asked,
"How did he die? What on earth happened?"
Officer Song remained silent for a long moment before replying.
"I'm just an ordinary temp worker. I've already submitted my resignation to the Bureau. I'm sorry to have let you down."
With that, Officer Song hung up the phone. Zhao Gang felt his blood pressure skyrocket. He staggered and slumped down onto the steps. His face instantly turned deathly pale. He was no fool. He didn't need to think twice to know that Officer Chen's death was definitely connected to his case. Hadn't he just seen Officer Song scared into resigning? No wonder the police station was shrouded in a heavy, oppressive sense of suffocation. It turned out this suffocation was the gloom brought about by death. After a moment of deep thought, Zhao Gang crumpled the slip of paper in his hand, shoved it into his mouth, and chewed until it was a pulp before finally swallowing it down. He still didn't know if his son was dead or alive. His daughter was deeply entangled in a bizarre disappearance case. And because of his situation, Officer Chun had met a tragic end. Who exactly was the mastermind behind this? Why were their hearts so vicious? Was there no justice left in this vast world? Zhao Gang instinctively clenched his fist. A sharp glint flashed in his eyes. If no one in this world would stand up for my children, then I, Zhao Gang, have no choice but to become a demon myself, fighting evil with evil to wipe out these beasts from the face of the earth. He would not give up. He would not let this rest. For his children, and for Officer Chun, even if it meant becoming a fallen angel, he would not hesitate. His life was worth nothing anyway. No wife, no children, all alone and desolate, unable to find a reason to live. Why not fight the demons in the shadows to the bitter end? He dialed Officer Song's mobile number again, hoping to ask about the case's progress, and, through subtle clues and careful analysis, track down the true culprit behind the scenes. However, it seemed Officer Song had blocked him. In an instant, his expression turned despondent. He wilted, hanging his head like a frostbitten eggplant, unable to recover his senses for a long while. What should he do next? Who could point him in the right direction? How was he supposed to find the mastermind? He certainly couldn't count on the police station anymore. After what happened to Officer Chun, no one would dare touch this mess for the foreseeable future. After tossing the thoughts around in his mind, Zhao Gang dragged his exhausted body out of the police station gates. He planned to return to his son's rental apartment to thoroughly sort through the causes and consequences of this case. He would list every single person connected to the situation. He was a simple, honest man without much education, who had always followed the rules. He had no strong opinions, no great ambitions. He only ever wished for his children to be safe, happy, and for everything to go smoothly for them. But now, with things pushed to this breaking point, no matter how honest he was, he had to unleash some fury. It wasn't that honest men didn't have tempers. Honest men just had higher endurance. But if you truly touched an honest man's raw nerve, it would be like a volcanic eruption, completely uncontrollable. Never challenge an honest man's bottom line. Aren't there plenty of examples of this online? Once that line is crossed, it often ends in a fight to the death. One either explodes in silence or perishes in silence. The Chowan police station was about 2 or 3 kilometers away from the Huajin residential complex. Zhao Gang walked on, and before he knew it, he had arrived at the entrance of the complex. He went inside. He stood outside the basketball court, lingering for over 10 minutes before finally heading upstairs. Inside the court, there was a group of energetic, sunny young men. These kids were about the same age as his son. How he wished his own son was in there, playing basketball to his heart's content. But alas, it was all just a fantasy. There was a time when his son, ball in hand and moving with light steps, would sink basket after basket. Stepping out of the elevator, Zhao Gang took out his key and opened the apartment door. Suddenly, Zhao Gang noticed a sheet of A4 paper covered in writing on the floor near the door. The A4 paper had been slid into the room through the gap at the bottom of the door. Zhao Gang hurriedly closed the door and picked up the paper. The words on it were printed. The title read, Summary of the Zhao Wenji Death Case. Seeing these large characters, Zhao Gang trembled all over, and a glint of sharp light instantly flashed in his eyes. Case Suspect 1. Jingdu Hospital. Director Huang of the emergency room. Zhao Wenji first entered the ER and was subsequently arranged by Director Huang to be admitted to the orthopedics department for treatment. Case Suspect 2. Jingdu Hospital. Orthopedics attending physician Lu Hai. After Zhao Wenji entered orthopedics, the entire surgical treatment was handled by Dr. Lu alone. According to his statement, upon the completion of the surgery, Zhao Wenji was brain dead. Suspicious point. Zhao Wenji was rushed to the operating room before admission procedures were even completed, then sent to the crematorium and cremated before his family could arrive. Suspect No. 3. Wei Guotong, head of the crematorium, died in a car accident the day before yesterday. Preliminary assessment suggests Wei Guotong's accident is linked to the Zhao Wenji death case. Suspected assassination to silence him and prevent secrets from leaking. Suspect No. 4. Bai Zhongmin, dump truck driver, affiliated with Chowan First Construction Company. Due to a lack of evidence regarding foul play at the accident scene, Bai Zhongmin has been released. That was it. There was no signature at the bottom, no phone number, and no other introduction. Nor was there any mention of crematorium director Wei Guotong's mobile phone, for which data was currently being recovered. But it provided Zhao Gang with every suspect involved in the case. It was an indirect message to Zhao Gang. Handle your case yourself. Zhao Gang did not speculate on who had placed it there. If you want to know, he could simply go to the property management office and check the surveillance footage. In fact, there was no need for him to check the surveillance because this person was helping him from the shadows. After reading it through once more in detail, Zhao Gang clenched his fists again. He knew, to solve the case of his son and daughter, he had to become a demon himself. He took a train back to his hometown overnight. He wrote a will for himself. Then he listed the purchase contract for his house in the county seat, along with all his savings, in the will. If he could bring his children back, the will would be invalid. If he failed to bring his children back, the will would take effect. If even one of his children returned, the will would also remain invalid. The beneficiaries were his 2 cousins, Zhao Tai and Zhao Tong. The 2 were to split his assets equally, with no favoritism. After writing the will, he tucked it under his bed. Before dawn the next day, he boarded a train and headed back to the capital. Sitting in his rental room, Zhao Gang lit a cigarette for the first time. Amidst the clouds of smoke, he began to plan his investigation route. He had never smoked or drank, but now he needed to smoke to soothe his frayed nerves. Because every move he made from here on out would likely be a crime. It could be said, if he wasn't committing a crime, he was on the road to committing one. For the sake of his children, he couldn't care less. These people were cruel enough to murder and kidnap his children. Why should he show mercy? He had to give an answer to his late wife, to his children, to himself. To ensure the upcoming events went smoothly, he specifically went to Xinhua bookstore and bought several relevant books. He needed to learn. He was forced into this. He had no choice. Only by learning could he avoid detours. Only by learning could he proceed with caution at every step. After reading through the night, a personalized investigation route formed in his mind. He had a good sleep. After relaxing his nerves, he began his stakeout. He already knew how Officer Chen had died. It was already on the news. It had caused a huge stir and was practically common knowledge. The internet was too developed. News, big or small, spread incredibly fast. This serious, malicious incident had already attracted the police's attention. The police naturally wouldn't let it go. They would arrange for others to prioritize this case. But Zhao Gang couldn't wait. Police work could be fast, but it could also be slow, requiring layers of meetings, personnel assignments, and case analysis. Even when they launched an investigation, they would start with Officer Chen's sacrifice. By the time they got to his children's case, it would be far too late. Not to mention the possibility of the case stalling midway or other accidents occurring. It wasn't that he didn't trust the police, but he worried that the enemies in the shadows might accelerate their violence. It had been 10 days since his son was declared brain dead and his daughter went missing. These 10 days had been torture for him, every minute and every second. He had to speed up. His primary target was Lu Hai from orthopedics. As for the director of the emergency department, that would take too much time. Only Lu Hai knew if his son was truly brain dead. After wasting 2 whole days, Zhao Gang finally mastered Lu Hai's work schedule and habits. Lu Hai usually left the hospital at 5:00 p.m. He would first pick up his daughter from kindergarten, then go home for dinner. After dinner, he would go for a walk in a park not far from his home. The walk usually took place around 8:00 p.m. And this walking period was exactly when he planned to make his move. To capture Lu Hai, he specifically rented a dilapidated warehouse not far from Lu Hai's home and bought a beat-up tricycle. At 8:00 p.m., Lu Hai arrived at the park for his walk as expected. He usually walked alone. There weren't many people in the park. There were plenty of places to make a move. But carrying Lu Hai out of the park on his back, that would be doubly difficult. To solve this problem, he had specifically disguised himself as a sanitation worker, ready at any moment to knock Lu Hai out, dump him into a trash bin, and push the bin out of the park. Clad in a yellow sanitation uniform, Zhao Gang held a broom in one hand and a dustpan in the other, ceaselessly sweeping fallen leaves along the path Lu Hai was bound to take for his walk. At this hour, all the sanitation workers in the park had already clocked out. After a bit of posturing, Zhao Gang put away his broom and dustpan, began pushing a roadside trash bin, and tailed Lu Hai. He wore a yellow peak cap and a face mask. Reading glasses rested on the bridge of his nose, and he hunched his back, looking for all the world like a man in his 60s. When Lu Hai passed by, his gaze lingered on him for a few seconds before he continued walking deeper into the park. Having locked onto his target and mapped out his plan, Zhao Gang actually stopped tailing him. Instead, he sat down on a bench along a narrow, winding path. Before long, Lu Hai came jogging along that very path, heading toward the main road outside. This path was an unavoidable route for circling back to the main road. If he didn't take this path, Lu Hai would have to walk at least an extra 4 or 5 kilometers to get home. Zhao Gang pulled his cap low and pretended to be engrossed in scrolling through Douyin. On the main road outside, an occasional jogger would pass by. He had to keep an eye not only on Lu Hai, but also on the passing pedestrians. The closer Lu Hai got, the faster his heart beat. In all his years, he had never done anything against his conscience, nor had he ever done anything wicked. He had certainly never committed robbery, kidnapping, or any such dirty deeds. Although he was a simple man, he was upright and possessed a strong moral compass. He had never imagined that one day he would transform into a demon of justice to eradicate the scum of this world. Just as Lu Hai was passing him, he held his breath, sprang to his feet, and delivered a violent chop to the back of Lu Hai's head. The blow didn't knock Lu Hai out immediately. Instead, he turned his head to look at Zhao Gang. Upon discovering that his attacker was the sanitation worker, a look of utter confusion appeared in Lu Hai's eyes. He was about to shout angrily at Zhao Gang, but Zhao Gang, ruthless and silent, rushed forward and delivered another chop, knocking Lu Hai completely unconscious. Then, before Lu Hai could hit the ground, Zhao Gang hoisted him up and rushed to where the trash bin was stationed. Clang! Zhao Gang opened the trash bin and thrown Lu Hai inside. His body was solid. Underground mining was manual labor, so hoisting Lu Hai up took no effort at all for him. The trash inside the bin had already been cleared out, but it still reeked to high heaven. It was his first time doing something like this, and he was terrified. He didn't dare waste a moment. Pushing the bin, he followed the tree-lined path to the fence at the park's perimeter. There was a gate in the fence here that led outside. This gate was usually wired shut, and no one used it to exit. This was where Zhao Gang intended to transport Lu Hai out. This was the escape route he had scouted earlier that day. After pulling Lu Hai out of the bin, Zhao Gang put the bin back in place. As he withdrew, he roughly cleaned up the traces along the way. Then he returned to the gate, carried Lu Hai over the fence, stuffed him into a sack, and tossed him onto a dilapidated tricycle parked outside. He had bought the tricycle just today. He didn't have much education, but he knew how to plan his route. Those books he read at the Xinhua bookstore hadn't been for nothing. Besides, when people are desperate, they often unleash unknown potential. That definitely wasn't just hot air. Taking off his uniform, Zhao Gang changed into a different outfit before pedaling the tricycle away. The pitch-black night obscured his silhouette. More than 10 minutes later, Zhao Gang arrived inside a dilapidated warehouse. The old warehouse had a basement storage room. He had only discovered it after renting the place. After some busy work, Lu Hai's hands and feet were tied to an iron pillar in the basement. Stinky socks were stuffed into his mouth. After a basin of cold water was splashed on him, Lu Hai woke from his coma. Seeing himself securely tied to an iron pillar, Lu Hai turned pale with fright.
MMPH, MMPH.
He struggled violently. The light in the dilapidated warehouse was dim. There hadn't been any lights here originally. The current lighting was just a makeshift setup Zhao Gang had rigged using a battery and a bulb he'd bought at a hardware store. In Lu Hai's line of sight, a man dressed in black sat cross-legged next to the light, crunching loudly as he gnawed on a bone. The man in black didn't say a word, letting him struggle and whimper as much as he liked. Zhao Gang was hungry. He hadn't eaten all day. He had also thought things through. He couldn't let his body break down. He had to eat and drink when necessary. Only when full and hydrated would he have the energy to save his children. After eating and drinking his fill, Zhao Gang picked up the mining lamp. Let's just call it a mining lamp. Back when he was mining, the lights he used were makeshift contraptions rigged from worn-out batteries and light bulbs. He dropped his disguise and appeared before Lu Hai with his true face. Lu Hai recognized him immediately. Zhao Gang was in no hurry to yank the sock out of his mouth. He stood expressionless in front of Lu Hai and said,
I, Zhao Gang, am a simple, honest man. I have no cunning, no schemes, and no education. The greatest strength of an honest man is his endurance. Unless his bottom line is crossed, he usually won't snap. But if he does snap, he won't stop until one of us is dead. I may be uneducated, but my son, Zhao Wenji, once told me a quote from Mr. Lu's son, erupt in silence or perish in silence. My wife died young. Sudden cardiac arrest. Just like with my son, I didn't even get to see her one last time. By the time she got to me, she was nothing but a box of ashes. After my wife died, my children and I had only each other. My son and daughter were my everything. I swore a solemn oath at my wife's grave that I would protect them with my life. But my abilities were limited, after all. My son twisted his ankle, yet was declared brain dead. After my son died, my daughter went missing too. My daughter's disappearance was the final straw that nearly broke me. My wife is dead. My son is dead. My daughter is missing. Now, I am all alone in this world, with nothing left to lose. No one can threaten me anymore. So, you're no fool. The fact that I could kidnap you and bring you here should be proof enough that I know everything about your family. Your daughter goes to Chowan Kindergarten, and your son is in the 3rd grade at Chowan Elementary. Your wife works at the bank. You have a warm, happy family. A pair of lively, adorable children. A gentle, beautiful wife. I trust you don't want to see your family torn apart. So, believe me when I say that if I wanted to hurt them, they wouldn't live past tonight. I didn't want to become a monster, but there are too many beasts in this world, forcing me to become one myself. Officer Chen died for my children's case. The manager of the crematorium was also killed because he was involved in my son's case. We are all adults here. Let's speak like adults and act like adults. My tolerance is limited, and my patience is wearing thin. Next, I'm going to take that smelly sock out of your mouth. You can scream for help all you want, but this is a basement. No one will hear you. During this process, I'm going to ask you a few questions. If you answer truthfully, you keep your life. And your family keeps theirs. If you speak even half a lie, I will kill you. And before I kill you, I'll bring your family here and slaughter them right in front of your eyes. If you people can kill my children, why can't I, Zhao Gang, kill yours? So, please do not attempt to challenge the bottom line of a man who has no family left. I once heard a saying, if justice for my family cannot be upheld, then I will become a demon to judge all these beasts myself. And you are the beasts in my eyes? So, please cherish every second I give you, because my patience truly has a limit.
With that, Zhao Gang pulled the smelly sock from his mouth.
You! If you dare hurt my family, I'll make you die a horrible death.
Lu Hai glared furiously, his eyes bulging, and spoke viciously.
Uh-huh. You talk too much crap. You don't seem to have understood what I just said.
Zhao Gang felt his dignity was being trampled by Lu Hai. A savage grin curled the corners of his mouth. He picked up a brand new pair of pliers from the side and said coldly,
Because of that nonsense you just spouted, you're losing a finger.
As the words fell, Zhao Gang gripped the pliers tight and yanked Lu Hai's arm towards him. Ignoring Lu Hai's struggles, he clamped down hard with the pliers, crushing Lu Hai's right pinky finger into a pulp.
Ah!
Lu Hai shrieked in agony.
You motherfucker! You're dead!
Lu Hai roared furiously. The pain made cold sweat pour from his forehead, and his eyes bulged like copper bells, staring daggers at Zhao Gang. He looked ready to tear Zhao Gang into 1,000 pieces.
I have no other path left to walk. From the moment I decided on revenge, I never planned on getting out of this alive. So, you just spouted nonsense again.
Zhao Gang took the pliers and clamped down on his left pinky finger. Crunch! Without hesitation, the left pinky was crushed into pulp. Lu Hai was in excruciating pain, wishing he were dead.
What the fuck do you want to know? Just ask already.
In severe pain, Lu Hai roared in anger. Zhao Gang smiled faintly.
Is my son, Zhao Wenji, actually brain dead or not?
Yes.
You're lying.
I'm not.
Crack! The ring finger on his right hand was ruthlessly crushed by Zhao Gang.
You have a death wish.
Lu Hai screamed like a mad dog.
You are an orthopedic surgeon. You should know what kind of situation you'll face if your hands are destroyed. So, please do not challenge my limits.
Zhao Gang reminded him coldly once again.
You motherfucker. What exactly do I have to say for you to believe me?
If I don't hear the answer I want, I will not only cripple all 10 of your fingers, but I will also kill your family.
Surprisingly, Zhao Gang did not fly into a rage. He appeared very calm. But the calmer Zhao Gang was The more fearful Lu Hai became deep down. A ruthless man doesn't talk much. Zhao Gang embodied this, saying perfectly.
You.
Terror surfaced in Lu Hai's eyes.
I've already told you. I have no way out. If you tell the truth, I won't hurt you, and I certainly won't hurt your family. Because I just want to find my children. I just want to know if they are alive or dead. You are a father, and so am I. Ask yourself honestly, if your children became victims for someone else, would you be willing?
Zhao Gang almost roared the last sentence. Lu Hai lowered his head. He seemed to be struggling internally.
Just kill me.
Lu Hai realized the gravity of speaking out, so he was prepared to go down fighting and die rather than yield. Zhao Gang knew, without thinking, that Lu Hai definitely knew a great deal, but he seemed to have reservations, so he didn't speak.
If you speak up, at most, you incriminate yourself. If you choose to conceal it, what awaits you is watching your own children get killed with your own eyes. You can weigh it up, see who is more important. Although my children have become victims, I still want to use my last bit of conscience to tell you, misfortune should not extend to family.
Zhao Gang's falcon-like eyes stared fixedly at Lu Hai. Enduring the severe pain in his fingers, after a psychological struggle, Lu Hai took a deep breath and said with a trembling voice,
Your son is not brain dead.
Boom! As these words came out, Zhao Gang's long-dormant hot blood was instantly ignited. He was ecstatic and hurriedly asked,
Then where is my son now? He shouldn't have been cremated, right?
No.
Lu Hai lowered his head and said dejectedly,
What you took back was just the ashes of a pig. My ability is limited, that is all I know.
Then, who took my son away? You should know this, right?
Zhao Gang asked hurriedly.
I handed your son over to the head of the crematorium, Wei Guotong. He was in charge of the final stage.
Wei Guotong is already dead.
So, even if I tell you, it's useless, because I don't know where your son was transported to either.
Lu Hai shook his head. In just an instant, Zhao Gang felt like he was going to have a complete breakdown. He thought that by catching Lu Hai, he could find his son, but he didn't expect to only get the conclusion that his son wasn't brain dead.
Lu Hai, you orthopedic surgeon, you really aren't simple. Casually drawing conclusions, casually disregarding human life. If anything happens to my son, don't expect to live. And that includes your family.
Zhao Gang clenched his fists and said,
You said, misfortune doesn't extend to family.
Yeah, misfortune doesn't extend to family. But who the fuck ever considered my family?
Zhao Gang roared furiously.
Although I don't know who the crematorium had handed off to, but I can provide you with another person. He definitely knows your son's whereabouts.
To protect his family, Lu Hai had a compromise.
Who?
Director Huang from the emergency department.
Director Huang from the emergency department?
Zhao Gang remembered the A4 paper he received in the rental apartment. The number 1 suspect on it was Director Huang.
After a patient enters the ER, Director Huang usually draws blood immediately. He matches them based on the patient's blood type and internal organs.
Lu Hai stopped suddenly here. Zhao Gang was greatly shocked.
You mean, Director Huang is the real big boss?
Lu Hai opened his mouth, lowered his head, and remained silent for a while before saying,
I've told you everything I know. Shouldn't you stop the bleeding in my finger?
Zhao Gang's expression was grim.
Then do you know which organ was going to be harvested from my son?
Zhao Gang asked nervously.
Liver.
Liver?
Zhao Gang's face turned gloomy. After some thought, he said,
I need to know where Director Huang lives.
You. What do you want to do?
Do I need to spell it out?
Zhao Gang picked up the pliers and asked. Lu Hai shuddered and hurriedly said,
Hepping Road. Alley 108. The third house.
Who is usually at Director Huang's house?
Zhao Gang continued to ask.
Him and his wife and his deaf-mute son. But his son doesn't seem to be home these past few days.
Lu Hai had completely given up.
A deaf-mute son? Heh. Do enough wicked things, and karma really comes back to bite you.
Zhao Gang sneered relentlessly.
At this hour, where would he be?
Zhao Gang asked again.
Today is Saturday. It's his day off. He should be at home with his family.
Lu Hai held nothing back. Every word he spoke now was an attempt to save his own family. He did not doubt Zhao Gang's ruthlessness in the slightest. When an honest man hardens his heart, there is no mercy left in it. Never bully an honest man. Once an honest man turns ruthless, he scares even himself. After getting all the information he wanted, Zhao Gang stood up and left the basement.
Wait. Shouldn't you stop the bleeding for me first?
Lu Hai grimaced in pain.
Stop the bleeding? As long as you don't run dry, let it flow.
Zhao Gang left without looking back. Lu Hai fought back the pain, his face twisting into a hideous grimace. After leaving the warehouse, Zhao Gang rode his dilapidated tricycle straight toward Director Huang's house. Director Huang's home wasn't far, 5 kilometers at most. It would take half an hour on the tricycle tops. It was already 9 o'clock at night. At this hour, Director Huang shouldn't be asleep yet. Using sewer repairs as an excuse, Zhao Gang knocked on Director Huang's door. A middle-aged woman, about 40 years old, opened the door. Zhao Gang guessed this was Director Huang's wife. Director Huang didn't live in a villa, but in a traditional courtyard house. The 2-meter-high walls made it easier for Zhao Gang to go about his business roughly and simply. Unsure if this was indeed Director Huang's home, Zhao Gang put on an honest expression and asked.
Director Huang called today saying the drain was a bit clogged. Is Director Huang home?
He's inside.
The middle-aged woman replied. That settled it. Zhao Gang breathed a sigh of relief, and then, without waiting for the woman to react further, he delivered a chop to her neck. Taken off guard, the middle-aged woman collapsed to the ground instantly. To avoid making too much noise, Zhao Gang hurriedly reached out to hold the woman up, dragged her to the base of the gate, closed the gate, and entered the house.
Director Huang.
You are.
Your wife just called and said the toilet was clogged. I'm here to fix it.
Zhao Gang said with an honest air.
Go check the bathroom.
Director Huang was about 40 and slightly overweight. He was holding his phone with both hands, chatting incessantly, seeming quite busy. Zhao Gang went inside, pretending to get to work, then shouted towards the outside.
Director Huang, could you trouble you to come in and lend a hand?
What is it? You need my help just to fix a toilet?
Director Huang seemed a bit annoyed, but he still walked into the bathroom in his slippers. As soon as he entered, Zhao Gang chopped the back of Director Huang's neck with his hand. The blow was heavy, caught off guard. Director Huang landed hard on his backside on the bathroom floor. Zhao Gang let out a heavy sigh of relief. He then went out to the courtyard and dragged Director Huang's wife into the living room. To keep any sound from escaping, Zhao Gang closed the doors and windows and drew the curtains. He then searched the house to see if anyone else was there. He didn't see Director Huang's mute son in the house. It seemed that, just as Lu Hai had said, the son wasn't home. He circled the house again and spotted a basement for storage under the stairs. His eyes lit up with delight. He dragged the couple into the basement one after another, then splashed a basin of cold water on them to wake them up. When Director Huang woke up and saw that he and his wife were tightly bound by Zhao Gang, his face instantly turned deathly pale from fright. His wife's eyes were also filled with terror.
Who are you?
Realizing they were in his own basement, Director Huang's eyes began to panic. The basement was quiet, so Zhao Gang hadn't gagged them.
Weren't you fixing the sewer? What do you want? Do you realize what you're doing?
Director Huang's wife roared, glaring angrily.
Trespassing, kidnapping and extortion.
Shut up!
Zhao Gang barked impatiently. As he spoke, he picked up a sharp kitchen knife from the side. It belonged to the Huang household. Zhao Gang had taken it from a kitchen.
What? What are you planning to do?
Director Huang's wife was scared now. Her expression was terrified, and her voice trembled as she asked,
What am I planning? You should ask Director Huang.
Zhao Gang said with a grim, cold expression.
Who? Who exactly are you? I don't know you.
Director Huang stared wide-eyed and said,
You definitely don't know me. But now, I'm going to make sure you get to know me real well.
As he spoke, Zhao Gang swung his hand, leaving a bloody handprint searing across Director Huang's cheek. Slapped out of nowhere, Director Huang flew into a rage and cursed.
Who the fuck are you? I dare you to hit me again.
Damn it. You want me to try? Fine. I've seen people asking for a beating, but never anyone begging for it like you. Smack.
Zhao Gang swung his hand again, delivering another vicious slap. The force was so excessive that Director Huang's ears rang and his vision blurred. His brain buzzed as if 10,000 bees were swarming inside.
Who? Who exactly are you? Stop hitting him. If there's an issue, let's talk about it. Why are you beating him for no reason?
Director Huang's wife rushed forward to stop him.
For no reason. I'd fucking kill this beast myself if I could. Smack.
Zhao Gang's rage surged instantly. Feeling the beating wasn't enough, he swung his hand and slapped him hard again. This slap knocked the teeth on the left side of Director Huang's mouth right out. Dark red blood trickled down the corner of his lips. Under the impact of such tremendous force, his cheek began to swell and turn red.
Calamities sent by heaven may be avoided, but there is no escape from the sins you bring upon yourself. Smack.
Unable to express the hatred in his heart, Zhao Gang swung again, giving Director Huang a savage beating. The blows left Director Huang so disoriented he couldn't even speak. Seeing this, Director Huang's wife was terrified her husband would be beaten to death right there. She cried out, pleading,
Please, I beg you, stop hitting him. Let's just talk this out, okay? You look like an honest, decent man. I know you wouldn't come to our home and cause trouble without a reason. Just tell us. How exactly did my husband offend you?
Zhao Gang wiped the blood from his hand, panting heavily as he struggled to suppress his rage. He was genuinely afraid he wouldn't be able to hold back and would beat Director Huang to death. But the moment he thought of the suffering his son had endured, his anger became uncontrollable.
Yeah. You've never fucking seen me. But you've definitely seen my son. You ask why I'm beating you? The fact that I haven't fucking killed you yet means you should be thanking your lucky stars.
Zhao Gang exhaled a breath of stale air, his expression grim and vicious.
Your son? Who is your son?
Director Huang mumbled indistinctly, forcing the words out through the agonizing pain in his cheek.
You don't know who my son is? It seems you haven't been beaten hard enough yet.
As he spoke, Zhao Gang pulled off his belt and lashed it viciously across Director Huang's head. As the belt struck, Director Huang squealed like a pig being slaughtered. A bright red welt instantly appeared across his cheek.
Who the fuck do you think you are? You dare touch my son. I'll kill you, and I'll kill your wife and son too.
Zhao Gang roared, his anger overwhelming.
Smack.
Zhao Gang swung the belt again, lashing Director Huang's head once more. After 2 consecutive strikes, Director Huang felt a searing pain across his head and face. His cheek was a bloody mess, mutilated and horrifying to behold. Unless he got a skin graft, that face would likely never heal properly. The intense agony nearly caused him to black out, and he let out a heart-wrenching scream. Director Huang's wife was frightened to tears. She wailed loudly, kneeling and begging Zhao Gang to spare their lives.
Spare your lives? I spare your lives. But who spared my son? Who spared my daughter? When you were committing your crimes in the shadows, why didn't you think you'd end up like this?
Zhao Gang's eyes were bloodshot. He looked like a homicidal demon, ruthless, vicious, and cold-blooded.
My son is missing. My daughter is gone. I'm all alone in this world now, with nothing left to lose. A man with nothing has nothing to fear from the likes of you. But look at you, Director Huang, a happy family, a bright future. If you didn't care about your own family's safety, why should I? On the surface, you look respectable, dressed like a human, but acting like a dog. But behind the scenes, you're ruthless, treating human life like dirt. You wear the mask of a harmless man while doing dirty, shameful deeds. Ask yourself, are you worthy of your noble profession? Is this what you call saving lives and healing the wounded? You're fucking abusing your power for personal gain, harming the people, and slaughtering lives. Do you realize that? Once I found out you were the culprit, I wanted to flay your skin, rip out your tendons, drink your blood, eat your flesh, and stew your bones for soup.
After unleashing this torrent of words, Zhao Gang felt as though he had exhausted every vocabulary word he had ever learned in his life.
Huang Yingxian. You bastard. Are you involved in organ trafficking again?
The middle-aged woman wasn't a fool. Zhao Gang's words made her realize something immediately. Sweeping away her worry, she roared in anger.
How many times have I told you not to participate in organ trafficking? You just wouldn't listen. It's illegal. You will suffer divine retribution. Our son was born deaf and mute. Why won't you just change your ways?
Director Huang leaned back in his chair, looking utterly dispirited. He seemed to have forgotten the pain in his head and cheeks. He appeared to have some unspeakable secret and fell into a brief silence.
Speak up. Where did you send that man's son? Who was the organ matched to? You really deserve to die. You've ruined the two of us.
The middle-aged woman wept and wailed.
Do you think I don't want to stop?
Director Huang said agitatedly.
I can't stop. Once there's a first time, there's a second, and then a third. I want to quit too. But I can't. Once I quit, those bastards up above will kill me. Not only will they kill me, they'll kill you too.
This is all a sin of your own making. I never should have married a scoundrel like you.
The middle-aged woman scolded furiously.
Humph. Those guys above will kill you. Do you think Zhao Gang won't kill you? Won't kill your family? I've made it crystal clear. I am all alone. I fear no one. No one. Worst comes to worst, the fish dies and the net breaks. We all go down together. Even if I die and go to the underworld, I can still face my children and wife.
Zhao Gang had truly thrown caution to the wind. If he didn't even fear death, what else was there to fear? Saying this, Zhao Gang raised his belt again. Seeing the bloodstained belt, Director Huang seemed to get scared. He hurriedly said,
Who is your son? Ning Jijun? Bai Xiaoqian? Or Zhang Dashuai?
In his panic, Director Huang rattled off 3 names, but he did not say Zhao Wenji.
You beast. You damn beast. You are worse than a pig or a dog. How could you be so cruel?
Director Huang's wife turned pale with fright upon hearing these names. The fact that Director Huang could name these people was proof enough that they likely met the same fate as the man's son. Enraged, Zhao Gang suddenly swung the belt, whipping Director Huang hard across the cheek again. This strike was severe, causing the flesh on Director Huang's face to roll back and blood to splatter. His left eyeball nearly popped out of its socket, and Director Huang howled in agony.
You beast. You're truly worse than a pig or a dog. You're practically an animal. Worse than an animal.
Zhao Gang mourned for these innocent people and beat Director Huang on their behalf.
Stop hitting. Stop hitting. I don't know who your son is. Please just say it.
Director Huang seemed on the verge of a breakdown. He genuinely didn't seem to know of anyone named Zhao Wenji.
You don't know? Are you fucking kidding me? You're telling me you don't know?
Saying this, Zhao Gang raised the belt again.
No. I really forgot. There were too many people.
Director Huang accidentally let slip another remark that begged for a beating. It caused his wife to curse angrily again.
You beast. You'd be better off dead. What sin have I committed? How could I marry a beast like you?
Zhao Gang gripped the belt tightly, wishing he could whip this monster to death.
My son is named Zhaowenji.
Zhao Gang didn't want to waste any more time with him and directly stated his son's name.
Zhao Wenji? I haven't heard of him.
Damn it. Death is staring you in the face, yet your mouth is still hard. You really won't turn back until you hit a wall.
Zhao Gang swung the belt again and whipped him viciously. Then, amidst Director Huang's agonizing struggle, he took out his phone and played a short video. This video was the recording of Lu Hai's interrogation from earlier. Seeing Lu Hai bound hand and foot, explaining in full detail about Zhao Wenji's brain death, Director Huang's bloody, mangled face instantly turned pale. He thought that by not mentioning Zhao Gang's son, he could suffer less pain, but he never imagined that Lu Hai had already been captured by Zhao Gang. The names he mentioned earlier were from years ago. No one would come looking for them anymore. He was merely stalling Zhao Gang. Now that Lu Hai had been tortured into confessing, it was equivalent to selling him out. No wonder Zhao Gang was able to break into his home in the middle of the night. In his heart, he cursed Lu Hai viciously, dragging Lu Hai's 18 generations of ancestors into it as well.
You beast. Do you know Zhaowenji or not? Hurry up and speak.
Director Huang's wife scolded him furiously, unable to contain her impatience. Director Huang fell silent once again. Zhao Gang itched to lash out again. Suppressing his rage, he said in a low voice,
I don't want to hurt your family. Please, don't hurt mine either. If you tell me exactly where my son is, I'll show mercy and let your family go.
Sigh.
Director Huang seemed to give in. He let out a long sigh and said,
It's been too long. It's been over 10 days. They were in a hurry over there. I'm afraid it's already too late.
Ah. What did you say? You have a death wish.
In a fit of rage, Zhao Gang swung his belt and whipped it viciously down onto Director Huang's shoulder. It was unclear how much force was behind that lash. All that was known was that the pajamas on the shoulder were ripped apart by the sheer force. Bright red blood instantly oozed from the split wound, staining the torn edges of the pajamas.
You animal. Hurry up and tell him where his son is. What if his son is still alive?
Director Huang's wife was both furious and anxious. She was terrified that Zhao Gang, in his rage, would kill them both. Zhao Gang looked like an honest man, but the more honest a person is, the more ruthless they can be when they kill. There were too many such cases online. Better to offend a vile villain than an honest man.
He was transported to the south. A big boss named Zhang has liver failure. He desperately needs a transplant. And he wants a living donor. Your son's liver was a match.
Director Huang endured the agonizing pain, and amidst the flow of blood and sweat, he spoke carefully. Zhao Gang breathed a slight sigh of relief, then clenched his fists, his expression turning grim.
Give me that Zhang's address and contact information. Don't try to test my patience. Or else, I really won't be able to stop myself from killing you, you beast who's worse than a pig or dog.
Director Huang lowered his head and said dejectedly,
I don't have Zhang's contact info or address. I only have the detailed location of the hospital and the contact for the connection up the chain. You can go to that hospital to look for him.
What about my daughter? My gut tells me. My daughter's disappearance definitely has something to do with you too.
Zhao Gang said, radiating murderous intent.
Your daughter?
Director Huang looked completely bewildered.
I don't know about your daughter. We didn't touch your daughter.
Did you really not touch her? Or are you just saying that?
Zhao Gang narrowed his eyes.
I really didn't touch her.
Huang Yingxian. Are you still pretending?
Director Huang's wife roared.
Damn it. If I knew, I would have said it long ago. At this critical moment, do you think I can't tell which end is up?
Director Huang cursed back at his wife.
If you could tell which end is up, you wouldn't have done such unconscionable things. You really deserve to die.
Zhao Gang said, suppressing the urge to kill him. He really wanted to kill Director Huang, but he couldn't kill him yet. He feared that if he killed Director Huang, he would cut off the news about his children. He had to find his children first before he could kill this beast. In the end, Director Huang still didn't reveal the daughter's whereabouts. It was possible he really didn't know who had kidnapped Zhao Wenxuan. Zhao Gang could tell that this time, he wasn't pretending.
Then, what about Officer Chen? Who killed him?
Zhao Gang thought of Officer Chen's death and felt terribly guilty. If it weren't for his case, Officer Chen and his wife wouldn't have died.
This.
Whap! Director Huang hesitated for just a moment, and Zhao Gang whipped him with a belt. He seemed to have gotten addicted to the whipping. As long as Director Huang dared to hesitate, it meant there was an 80% chance it had something to do with him.
Officer Chen. The couple from the Chowan police station who were blown up a few days ago.
Director Huang's wife had long known the news of Officer Chen's death. She knew Officer Chen. He was a good cop, a good role model for the people. He often stood up for the common folk and was the police officer most supported and loved by the people. Fair and just showing no favoritism, never forgetting justice for profit, never bullying the weak while fearing the strong, and daring to fight against all evil forces to the bitter end.
Officer Chen.
A look of pain crossed Director Huang's face. He seemed unwilling to state this fact, but seeing the belt Zhao Gang raised, and remembering that he could no longer save his own skin, he closed his eyes and said,
It was I who ordered the dump truck driver to deliver the bomb to his door. Arg.
No sooner had Director Huang finished speaking than Zhao Gang swung the belt and whipped him viciously again. Director Huang howled in pain once more. His wife couldn't help but curse at Zhao Gang.
Did you not eat dinner tonight, damn it? Can't you use a bit more force?
She seemed to think the whipping was too light. Zhao Gang looked grim. Ignoring his wife, he continued to ask,
Where is the person in charge of the crematorium?
I also ordered the dump truck driver to do it.
Director Huang broke down completely.
Huh. Director Huang, you really are a good doctor for the people.
Zhao Gang couldn't help but sneer.
You have truly defiled this noble profession. You are simply a cancer in the medical world. Others become doctors to save the dying and heal the wounded. You became a doctor to harm lives. You just wait to face the firing squad. Even if Jesus comes, he won't be able to save you.
Right then, after getting the detailed location of the hospital and the contact information and name of his superior from Director Huang, Zhao Gang knocked the couple unconscious again without a second word. He dared not waste time here, for time was life. He stuffed Director Huang and his wife in his sacks and hauled them to a dilapidated warehouse overnight. It was already 1:00 a.m. In a daze, Lu Hai waited until the Huang couple arrived. Seeing Director Huang's unrecognizable face and his battered, blood-stained shoulders, Lu Hai's face turned pale. It was obvious that Director Huang had been brutally beaten by Zhao Gang. Zhao Gang tied the three of them up separately in the underground warehouse. He secured them in place so they could not move. Finally, he stuffed rags into their mouths, then set off overnight to leave Jingdu. The location provided by Director Huang was in the southern city of Xinguang. To save time, he went specifically to the airport and, with the help of the staff, bought a plane ticket to Xinguang City. Time was life. He could not afford a single moment of delay. Early the next morning, just as the sky began to show the first glimmer of dawn, the plane arrived in Xinguang City. After getting off the plane, Zhao Gang did not rush to the private hospital. Instead, he bought some necessary items in the city. Going single-handedly to the hospital to fight for his life, he had to bring some equipment that could intimidate people. He had worked as a miner for many years and was intimately familiar with how to make blasting caps and explosives. So, he spent some money at hardware stores and chemical shops to buy some pipes, sulfur, saltpeter, and charcoal. Sulfur and charcoal were easy to buy, but saltpeter was a bit more difficult. Fortunately, Zhao Gang had a blasting qualification certificate on him. This was a technical certificate his boss had obtained for them when he worked as a miner in his early years. Back then, getting these certificates wasn't that difficult. Moreover, they were all simple, honest people who never thought of harming anyone. When leaving Jingdu this time, Zhao Gang had specifically brought this certificate along just in case. Now it seemed that bringing this document was a truly wise choice. With the blasting certificate, he was considered a professional worker. When he bought the saltpeter, the owner of the chemical shop didn't think twice. Most importantly, to buy the sulfur and saltpeter, he went to several different shops, buying only a little at each one. Since Zhao Gang purchased small amounts, the owners didn't get suspicious. Of course, when buying these things, one had to register at the store. After all, these were dangerous materials. Ordinary people couldn't buy them at all. Once everything was ready, Zhao Gang hailed a taxi and headed straight for the private hospital identified by Director Huang. Now was not the time to save money. Every second was extremely important to him. The private hospital was named Saika Hospital. Zhao Gang didn't know why the hospital was named Saiku. His son was undergoing liver transplant surgery right there. But whether the transplant had already happened, he really didn't know. The closer he got to Saika Hospital, the faster his heart beat. After the car stopped at the entrance of Saika Hospital, Zhao Gang paid the fare and immediately jumped out of the car. The hospital gates were shut tight. Zhao Gang knocked on the door, but was stopped by a security guard. This was a private hospital. Without an appointment or a patient residing inside, outsiders were absolutely not allowed to enter at will. Zhao Gang hadn't expected to be turned away the moment he arrived. He could see the inside of the hospital right before his eyes, but unexpectedly, he was barred from entering. It seemed this private hospital was indeed the legendary organ transplant hospital. Otherwise, why would they keep the gates closed and refuse to let outsiders in casually? What legitimate hospital doesn't keep its doors open 24/7? This Saika hospital didn't look like a legitimate hospital at first glance. There were no reviews for Saika Hospital on the internet. It was as if this hospital didn't exist. Even the taxi driver had said on the way there that he had never heard of this hospital. Very few people knew about it. If it weren't for the positioning route on the map, the taxi wouldn't have known how to get there. Most importantly, this hospital was located halfway up a mountain in the suburbs of Xinguang City. What hospital would be built in such a godforsaken place? Since Zhao Gang couldn't enter through the main gate, he had no choice but to climb over the wall. Regardless, having arrived here, he would absolutely not leave without finding his children. This private hospital wasn't particularly large, occupying an area of roughly 10,000 square meters. High walls surrounded the facility. Rows of cypress and pine trees were planted around the perimeter, with a few sycamore trees rising straight from the ground right against the walls. People rarely appeared here, but those who did were invariably wealthy or high status. Zhao Gang wandered around the exterior and saw dozens of expensive luxury cars driving in and out of the hospital one after another. He didn't recognize many car models, but he definitely recognized the coal mine boss's car. It was a Rolls-Royce, and just now, 2 Rolls-Royces had passed through, one entering and one leaving. Zhao Gang realized that this was not just a private hospital, but one catering exclusively to the upper echelons of society. Likely, only the wealthy could afford to stay here. After circling the high wall, Zhao Gang stopped beneath a sycamore tree. This spot was at the rear of the hospital, backed by a cliff, and was relatively secluded. Right against the wall stood a sycamore tree as thick as a water bucket. The ground was overgrown with weeds. Zhao Gang wrapped his arms around the tree and climbed upward with all his might. Soon, he was over the top of the wall. From the top of the wall, he stole a glance inside. It was the hospital's backyard. The courtyard was spacious and deserted. Suddenly, Zhao Gang saw something familiar, a blue and white helicopter. Seeing the helicopter, Zhao Gang's brow furrowed subconsciously. The helicopter looked somewhat familiar. He felt like he had seen it somewhere before, but for the moment, he couldn't recall where. He vaulted over the wall and dropped inside. The courtyard was quiet, without a sound. There didn't seem to be many staff members here, aside from doctors and cleaners. There were likely just security guards. Zhao Gang's entry was surprisingly smooth. Passing through the backyard corridor and a tree-lined path, he arrived at a bamboo grove. The ground of the bamboo grove was paved with white cobblestones. Long wooden benches lined both sides of the path. It was currently winter, and no one was walking through the bamboo grove. Passing through the bamboo grove, Zhao Gang entered the hospital's middle courtyard. The private hospital was divided into front, middle, and back courtyards. The back courtyard was where the helicopter was parked. The middle courtyard was where the hospital's senior management worked. The front courtyard contained the patient wards and the parking lot. After entering the middle courtyard, Zhao Gang spotted 2 medical staff members. It was hard for Zhao Gang to imagine that these medical professionals, who looked so respectable on the outside, were actually committing unspeakable bestial acts here. They simply didn't treat others' lives as lives. It was a flagrant disregard for human life, worse than animals. If these people were dragged to the execution ground, shooting them 10 times wouldn't be enough. The middle courtyard had 2 rows of 2-story buildings. In his search for his children, Zhao Gang entered the rooms one by one to check. The first building was a warehouse, storing medical equipment, pharmaceuticals, and the like. The second building had lights on. Through the window, Zhao Gang saw rows of hospital beds. On the beds, Zhao Gang saw young men and women with tubes inserted all over their bodies. Seeing these young men and women, Zhao Gang's expression changed dramatically. He didn't see any medical staff inside. He hurriedly went to the door, pushed it open, and entered. There were at least 20 beds in the room. Only 3 were empty. The others were all occupied. These people were wearing hospital gowns, their bodies bristling with tubes. Everyone had their eyes closed. Their hearts seemed to be beating, but the people themselves were like vegetables, showing no reaction whatsoever. The oldest among them was around 30, the youngest 5 or 6. Without exception, they were all hooked up to tubes. Beside each person, there was a detailed description. Yang Tingting, female, 25, heart match, Qiao Xinmei, Zhang Xiaobo. Male, 31, liver match, Luo Datong. Li Yisin, male 6, kidney match, Qin Wenhao. Seeing these detailed labels, Zhao Gang subconsciously clenched his fists. These people had most likely been trafficked here. Or perhaps, like his son, they had been matched while in a hospital and then transferred here. Nowadays, many patients' families had very poor vigilance. Merely listening to a doctor's one-sided claims, they would give up on their family members' treatment. Little did they know they were playing right into the doctor's hands, allowing their loved ones to become sacrificial lambs to extend someone else's life. Was Zhao Gang any exception? If his daughter hadn't been kidnapped, he wouldn't have gone to such lengths. Come to think of it, every step he took had been forced upon him by others. At best, he was just an honest, simple coal miner. He had never imagined that one day he would fall into such an unfathomable abyss. Nor had he ever imagined that one day he would transform into a demon, holding the banner of justice while committing demonic acts, to become a great hero admired by thousands. Back to the matter at hand. Everyone here had been matched. In the future, they all faced the removal of their organs to save others. Flames of anger burned in his eyes. He whipped out his phone and snapped a rapid series of photos. Zhao Gang did not see his son among these people. His expression darkened to the extreme. He grimly suspected that his son had already become a victim for someone else. He looked ghastly. He swore he would wipe out all the higher-ups here and ensure they could never harm another innocent life again. Footsteps echoed from the hallway outside. Zhao Gang hurriedly scrambled under a bed and watched as a female doctor in her 50s stepped into the room. She was carrying bottles of 4 fluids in her hands. These were nutrient solutions. In other words, everyone on the beds was being fed intravenously. As for their comas, they had likely been dosed with sedatives or sleeping pills to keep them in a deep sleep, preventing them from waking up and struggling. Once the doctor was inside, Zhao Gang didn't dare stay any longer. He stealthily slipped out of the room. Upon entering the next room, he was nearly paralyzed with fright by the decorations inside. A gloomy, terrifying aura permeated the air. On the tables before him stood clear glass containers, each fully a meter high and half a meter wide. Inside these vessels were the intact corpses of children, as well as adult bodies and various internal organs. A quick glance revealed at least 20 or 30 of these transparent containers. Every container represented a life once lived. Recovering from his shock, Zhao Gang pulled out his phone and snapped photos frantically. He had to capture it all as evidence to bring down this private hospital. These people were deranged, completely devoid of humanity. He couldn't stay there any longer. It was too grim, too horrifying. He felt a chill piercing through his down jacket and seeping into his skin. Being there made his hair stand on end and his scalp tingle with fear. Leaving that room, he headed for the next. Just as he was about to enter, 4 or 5 medical staff members appeared in the central courtyard. Leading them was a middle-aged man. He wore a white lab coat, crocodile leather shoes, and an expensive watch on his wrist. His hair was neatly groomed. With gold-rimmed glasses perched on his nose, he looked every bit the refined monster. His expression was grave, and he walked briskly, as if rushing to meet his doom. The medical staff following him looked younger, around 30 years old. A young man with a crew cut reported as he walked.
Director Lin. Lu Ziguang, the chairman of the Lu Group, is recovering very well from his heart transplant. So far, there are no signs of rejection.
Director Lin? Lin Sudong? Hearing this title, Zhao Gang's expression suddenly turned icy. That's him. This Director Lin was the head of the private hospital that Director Huang had mentioned. Upon hearing this, Zhao Gang realized that Director Lin and his group were heading straight toward his hiding spot. Without hesitation, he dove into the room next to him. It was a spacious operating room equipped with various surgical instruments. The surrounding walls were plastered with case studies and summaries regarding organ transplant surgeries. The operating room was vast and kept immaculately clean. On a nearby counter, Zhao Gang spotted a thick folder. Written on it in large black characters were the words, "Heart Transplant Surgery Records." Seeing those words, Zhao Gang immediately tensed up. Just as he reached out to open the file, voices suddenly drifted in from outside.
Why isn't the operating room door locked? Who is on duty today? How could you make such a rookie mistake? If a stray cat or dog got in and contaminated the room with germs, who would take responsibility?
It was unmistakably Director Lin's voice.
Director Lin, Specialist Zhang, has a kidney transplant scheduled for today. I was just disinfecting the operating room. Before Specialist Zhang arrived, you called me away to inspect the wards.
A young woman replied hurriedly.
Humph. Close the door first. You must not be negligent. This hospital has survived this long by relying on strict standards and discipline. Do not let a minor oversight lead to a major disaster.
Director Lin instructed as he walked, his voice full of authority.
You're right, Director. I will be very careful.
The young woman said, hastily bowing her head.
All right. Once the door is closed, come upstairs with me. We need to discuss the schedule for tomorrow's surgeries.
Director Lin finished speaking and led the way. The young woman hurriedly pulled the door shut and trailed behind the director and the others as they headed upstairs. Zhao Gang stood by the window, watching them ascend the stairs on the right and enter the first room on the second floor. He didn't dare waste any time. He hurriedly opened the surgical files to examine the records one by one. They contained records of over 100 organ transplant surgeries. In the latest records, Zhao Gang indeed found the entry for his own son's transplant surgery. Transplant case, liver transplant. Recipient, chairman of the Zhang Group, Zhang Chunlai. Subject of extraction, donor Zhao Wenji. Transplant date, November 20th. Zhao Gang took out his phone to check the date. Today was exactly November 19th. Seeing this registration information, Zhao Gang was ecstatic. It meant his son was not dead yet. He looked through the records again, but did not find his daughter's name. Then who had abducted his daughter? He couldn't worry about that much right now. He took out his phone and frantically snapped photos of the files. After taking the photos, Zhao Gang cautiously walked out of the operating room. Now, he had to find his son as quickly as possible and try to rescue him from this abyss before the surgery took place tomorrow. Director Lin had just said they were going upstairs to discuss tomorrow's surgery details, and there was only one surgery scheduled for tomorrow. That was the surgery to extract his son's liver. He needed to eavesdrop on the arrangements and progress of tomorrow's surgery and, in passing, learn about his son's current detailed condition. Fortunately, the operating room door hadn't been locked from the outside. He quietly opened the door, saw no one moving about outside, then ran out with light footsteps, quickly heading up the stairs to the second floor. There were indeed very few people here, mainly because they were engaged in shady business here. The more people involved, the greater the risk of exposure. Once exposed, they would certainly be condemned by the public online. Moreover, what they were doing was a serious violation of the law. Just the young men and women inside with tubes inserted into their bodies were enough to land them in deep trouble, not to mention the test subjects stored in glass containers. It was no wonder Director Lin was so cautious and careful, not allowing outsiders to enter casually. Anyone who knew about this place was a top-tier tycoon. These tycoons didn't lack money, so why would they expose everything here? What they wanted was life. Being alive was better than anything else. The better this place was hidden, the greater their hope of survival. They didn't care about the lives or deaths of others. If they cared about others' lives, they wouldn't have become top-tier tycoons, nor would they have become capitalists exploiting workers. On the second floor was a spacious conference room. Inside the huge conference room sat a mere 4 or 5 people. These people were all wearing white lab coats.
Tomorrow is the transplant surgery for Zhang Chunlai, chairman of the Zhang Group. Everyone must stay alert. Absolutely no mistakes are allowed.
Director Lin said with a solemn expression. Zhang Chunlai was his sworn brother, sharing a life-and-death friendship. This was already the second time he had secured a living liver for Zhang Chunlai. In other words, Zhang Chunlai had already undergone a liver transplant once before.
Little son, give us an update on Chairman Zhang's recent physical condition.
Director Lin asked calmly. A female nurse hurriedly stood up and said,
Since the last time the liver transplant couldn't proceed due to low immunity, after these few days of careful nursing, Chairman Zhang's metrics are all up to standard, including chest x-rays, ECGs, and other examinations. Everything is very much qualified.
Very good.
Director Lin revealed a satisfied look.
What about the donor? What is his current status?
The nurse hurriedly responded.
The donor, Zhao Wenji, is currently at Chairman Zhang's home. His physical condition is excellent in all respects.
Very good.
Director Lin nodded. Outside, Zhao Gang heard every single word. Upon learning that his son was at Chairman Zhang's home, Zhao Gang was overjoyed. This was absolutely the best news he had heard so far. A rare smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. This was also the first time Zhao Gang had smiled since his son's brain death. This smile made him feel an uncontrollable sense of relief. But remembering that his son was not yet out of danger and his daughter's whereabouts were still unknown, his nerves suddenly tightened again. He didn't know where Chairman Zhang lived. If he wanted to know, the only way was to pry it out of Director Lin's mouth. This would be no small feat. Subconsciously, he reached for the dozens of detonators at his waist. Whether he could extract useful information from Director Lin would depend on these detonators. Crash! While the meeting was still ongoing inside, Zhao Gang, clutching dozens of detonators in his hands, kicked open the conference room door and barged in, leaving the white-coated medical staff dumbfounded. Zhao Gang's sudden appearance brought the meeting in the room to an abrupt halt. Everyone inside cast their gaze upon Zhao Gang.
Lin Sudong, you beast, you son of a bitch. You have lost all conscience and committed every evil deed imaginable.
Upon entering, Zhao Gang unleashed a torrent of abuse. Seeing this, the other hospital staff were dumbstruck, looking completely bewildered. Naturally, they did not recognize Zhao Gang. Upon hearing Zhao Gang's words, Director Lin's brows instantly furrowed. True to his position as the director, his face betrayed no sign of panic.
Who are you? Why have you barged in here? If you know what's good for you, get the hell out of here right now. Otherwise, don't blame me when security comes in and puts a bullet in you.
Director Lin appeared fearless, as if he had powerful backing.
Talk about arrogance. Put a bullet in me? It seems. Director Lin not only traffics in human beings and illegal organs, but also harbors concealed firearms. You're seriously disrupting public order and acting against all decency. You are nothing short of a cancer in the medical world.
Zhao Gang casually recited lines he had learned from a book.
You? Who are you? Why have you trespassed in my hospital? What is your motive?
Director Lin asked in a low voice, his expression hardening. Zhao Gang's words had clearly shaken him.
Who am I? Is that really important right now? Before I lose my sanity completely, what you should be asking is, what exactly am I holding in my hand?
Zhao Gang sneered.
WH, what is that in your hand?
Director Lin stammered.
What is it? I'll show you exactly what it is right now.
Zhao Gang threw open the window, lit a stick of dynamite, and tossed it toward the helicopter in the backyard. Boom! A deafening blast rang out. The helicopter in the backyard was instantly blown to smithereens. The massive roar immediately threw the doctors in the room into a state of chaotic panic. At the same time, the explosion in the backyard sent everyone in the entire hospital into a frenzy. The blast was too intense. Fueled by the helicopter's gas tank, the explosion felt like a violent earthquake. It shook those who were unprepared, making their eardrums ache and filling their eyes with terror. They thought the hospital was under a terrorist attack. Zhao Gang had realized where he had seen this helicopter before. In the past few days, he had seen it twice. The first time, when his son sprained his foot on the high-speed train to the capital. The second time, when his daughter went missing, the helicopter he saw in the sky above the city. What he didn't know was that the first time, the helicopter was transporting his son. The second time, it was transporting his daughter. Fate plays such cruel jokes. They had been so close, yet felt worlds apart. Director Lin's face turned ghastly pale.
You? What on earth do you want?
Director Lin was losing his composure. This was no joke. An explosion here would soon bring the fire department, SWAT teams, and others. Then, the dirty dealings inside his hospital would be exposed. Once exposed, what awaited him was either life in prison or a bullet to the head. This was absolutely no laughing matter.
What do I want? Let's first talk about how powerful these explosives in my hand are.
Zhao Gang grinned savagely.
How powerful?
Faced with terror, Director Lin chose to compromise for the moment. Although he was the director of a private hospital, he was still only flesh and blood. Facing a desperado like Zhao Gang, his only option was temporary submission.
Once detonated, these explosives in my hand are enough to destroy your entire hospital. Furthermore, I have planted time bombs all over the building. The moment I press this detonator, this place will be reduced to dust in an instant, including all of you.
Zhao Gang declared, clutching the explosives in one hand and pointing at the doctors present with the other. As he spoke, he kept his back against the wall. This was to guard against the gun attack the director had alluded to. If the director dared to mention it, there were certainly guns hidden somewhere in the room.
So, you'd all better not make a move. Otherwise, if my hand slips, I might just press the button by mistake.
He did indeed have a trigger button in his hand. It was an old-fashioned mobile phone he had bought on a whim. It looked very similar to a detonator. As for the time bombs, that was pure bluff. Where to get time bombs? It was just a tactic to intimidate Director Lin and his group. In any case, his single stick of dynamite had already achieved an unexpected result. Now, all that remained was for him to seize the initiative.
What exactly do you want?
Director Lin asked, trembling with fear.
Right now. Immediately. Take me to the home of Zhang Chunlai, chairman of the Zhang Group. Or else, I'll detonate the bombs right here and now.
Zhao Gang said coldly.
Zhang Chunlai, why do you want to go to his house?
Director Lin was stunned.
Cut the crap! If you don't want this place destroyed, drive me there immediately.
Zhao Gang roared.
All right. I'll take you there right now.
Director Lin dared not provoke Zhao Gang further. He didn't know what Zhao Gang planned to do at Zhang Chunlai's house, and Zhao Gang hadn't said. Clatter! Zhao Gang threw several ropes from inside his jacket and said,
You few, tie yourselves up. You'd best not make any rash moves against me.
The other medical staff hurriedly picked the ropes up from the ground and bound their own hands. Zhao Gang approached them and tied them firmly to their chairs. Then, clutching explosives in one hand and shoving Director Lin with the other, he headed downstairs. The sound of the explosion in the backyard quickly drew the security guards from the front yard. One guard had his right hand tucked inside his military greatcoat. It went without saying that a pistol was hidden within. Seeing Director Lin being held hostage by Zhao Gang, the guard's expression changed instantly, and he hurriedly shouted at Director Lin,
Uncle!
Don't do anything rash.
Director Lin shouted frantically, terrified the guard might fire his gun.
Tell him to take out the gun and dismantle it right here, or I will blow everyone here to pieces.
Zhao Gang declared sternly. He was also afraid the guard might suddenly open fire on him.
You, take out the gun and dismantle it for me, immediately, right now.
Director Lin dared not offend Zhao Gang, but he had no qualms about shouting angrily at the guard. The guard seemed reluctant. He was ready at any moment to draw his gun and take Zhao Gang out. Zhao Gang seemed to see through his little scheme. His expression hardened, and without a word, he grabbed a detonator and threw it at the guard. He didn't care whether the guard lived or died. Everyone here deserved to die. Boom! The guard didn't have time to run and was blown into a bloody mess on the spot. Fortunately, the detonator's yield was low. It didn't kill the guard, but it left him lying on the ground, howling in heart-wrenching agony. The pistol at his chest was also blasted to the ground, its parts scattered everywhere. Zhao Gang was a true archetype of the strong, silent type, ruthless and sparing with words. Any potential threat had to be eliminated. Under his coercion, Director Lin climbed into his Mercedes Maybach and drove Zhao Gang at top speed toward Zhang Chunlai's home. Only then did Zhao Gang finally let out a breath of relief. His undershirt was already soaked through. The series of actions just now had seemed smooth, but in reality, danger had lurked at every turn. Not long after Zhao Gang and the director left, dozens of police cars were seen heading straight up the mountainside. These police cars had been drawn by the sound of the explosion. Of course, there were also terrified families of patients inside who had called the police at the first opportunity. Along the way, under Zhao Gang's threat, Director Lin drove at breakneck speed toward Zhang Chunlai's villa. Director Lin asked with a hint of despair,
Can you tell me, what exactly is your business with Zhang Chunlai?
He had already thought of the organ transplants, but he simply couldn't believe that was why Zhao Gang was here. After all, his hospital's security and secrecy were impeccable.
Also, how were you able to find this place? What was your purpose in coming to my hospital? Was it really just because of Zhang Chunlai?
Director Lin began to let his imagination run wild, deliberately avoiding the thought of the organ transplants. It wasn't that he didn't want to think about it, but that he didn't dare to. He truly didn't dare, because once this place was exposed, death would be the only thing awaiting him. Therefore, he would destroy all evidence within the hospital immediately, including the test subjects in the laboratory, including the people currently on 4 drips, including all the patients and families staying in the hospital, because he had already buried enough explosives beneath the hospital to level it. He had long been mentally prepared for this. This was also the reason he was willing to lead the way for Zhao Gang, because he had long anticipated that this day would come. As for Zhao Gang's time bomb, he didn't care about it at all. If Zhao Gang hadn't destroyed the helicopter and caused such a commotion, he wouldn't have made such a decisive and ruthless decision. Zhao Gang sneered.
Just drive your car. You'll know when we get there.
I already know.
Director Lin suddenly said with a sense of defeat.
Because you are Zhao Gang. Because Zhang Chunlai has too many connections to you.
HM? Why do you say that?
Now it was Zhao Gang's turn to be confused.
You'll know when we get there.
Director Lin didn't explain further. Zhao Gang furrowed his brows, secretly speculating on Director Lin's words. Was it just because of his son? Or perhaps his daughter had been kidnapped by Zhang Chunlai? That seemed like the only possibility, right? Also, the fact that Lin could say his name right off the bat surprised him greatly.
Tell me, does my hospital still have a reason to exist?
Director Lin suddenly slowed the car and asked.
Why do you ask that?
There are too many of my secrets hidden there. Once they're exposed, a bullet through the head is the only thing awaiting me. So, it's better to destroy it.
Click. Director Lin suddenly pulled out a genuine remote detonator and, without hesitation, pressed the button. Boom! Suddenly, Zhao Gang heard a massive explosion. The explosion was far away. He heard the blast and saw a massive mushroom cloud rising. Zhao Gang was stunned. A look of horror filled his eyes.
You blew up Psycho Hospital?
Zhao Gang was shocked beyond belief.
Yes, that place held the fruits of my labor from all these years.
Director Lin seemed almost reluctant to part with it, as he let out a long sigh.
You're crazy. There were dozens of people in there. Do you care so little whether they live or die?
Zhao Gang's pupils dilated, and his body trembled violently.
Indeed, dozens of lives? Far more than that. At least 100, I'd say. But what does that have to do with me? I just want to survive.
Director Lin said nonchalantly. He showed not a trace of fear or unease over killing hundreds of people. On the contrary, he seemed more at ease.
Only the dead. Keep secrets best.
Director Lin said in a hoarse voice.
I'll expose everything you've done. I'll make sure you rot in prison. I'll make you wish you were dead.
Zhao Gang said with a grim expression.
You? Ha ha.
Director Lin laughed aloud.
Give it up. You have no proof. No evidence. What grounds do you have? The evidence that could ruin me was all inside that hospital.
You lunatic. You've truly lost your mind.
Zhao Gang roared in anger.
Humph. All life is nothing but ants.
As he spoke, Director Lin pressed the remote control again. Bang! Another explosion was heard. Seeing this, Zhao Gang threw caution to the wind and reached out to snatch the remote. Director Lin hurriedly tried to dodge. Enraged, Zhao Gang whipped out the dagger at his waist and stabbed Director Lin in the shoulder. Crying out in pain, Director Lin flung the remote away. Meanwhile, the speeding car lost its balance and crashed headlong into the iron fence on the side of the road. Caught off guard, Director Lin slammed his head against the steering wheel and was knocked unconscious instantly. All the airbags in the car deployed. Zhao Gang was sitting in the back seat behind the driver. Fortunately, he was wearing his seat belt, which saved him from serious injury, though the violent impact left him dizzy and disoriented. The detonator in his hand was nearly jolted into exploding right there. A pungent smell of gasoline suddenly filled the air. Zhao Gang's expression changed drastically. Ignoring his dizziness, he shoved open the rear door, then wrenched open the driver's door and dragged Director Lin out. In this moment, he did show mercy, but it was absolutely not mercy for Director Lin. It was mercy for other innocent lives. Because Director Lin could not die yet. If Director Lin died, the other monsters connected to him might escape with their lives. Those beasts had to be brought to justice. Therefore, he had to save Director Lin. He just wanted to avenge the other innocent people who, like him, had lost their daughters. Director Lin's legs were crushed in the crash. The moment he was dragged out of the car, he let out a heart-wrenching scream, his eyes filled with endless despair. Boom! The car exploded, also destroyed in the blast with the detonators left inside. Zhao Gang suffered a head injury. Dark red blood trickled down his forehead. Ignoring the injury, Zhao Gang frantically flagged down a taxi.
Take me to the Coral Villa district. Right now, immediately.
He stammered in a panic. His thoughts were still on his son. He feared that once news of the explosion at Psycho Hospital spread, it would bring disaster upon his boy. After all, Zhang Chunlai was facing the potential termination of his surgery. In his rage, he would surely do something unconscionable. There was no guarantee he wouldn't lay a vicious hand on Zhao Wenji. The taxi driver didn't dare delay and drove him straight toward the Coral Villa district. He knew the destination because it was the location set on Director Lin's phone navigation. Coral Villa District, Villa No. 101. That was the precise location Director Lin had entered.
Driver, please go faster. I'll pay you 10 times the fare. It's a matter of life and death. I have to save someone.
Zhao Gang was burning with anxiety. The more he thought about it, the more panicked he became. He was terrified that something would happen to his son. Furthermore, Director Lin had said something earlier. Zhao Chunlai holds too many of his secrets. He was intensely interested in that statement. He was desperate to know exactly what this so-called secret was. With the promise of 10 times the fare and knowing that Zhao Gang was on a rescue mission, the driver drove like the wind, arriving at the Coral Villa district in less than half an hour. The complex was huge. The security guards at the gate refused to let the taxi enter. The driver already knew Zhao Gang was there to save a life. So, facing the barrier at the entrance, he didn't hesitate. He floored the accelerator and smashed right through it. It was a race against time in the truest sense. Seeing this, the security guard at the gate scratched his head, looking completely dumbfounded. He had seen cars crash into the barrier arm before, but never so brazenly. And he had certainly never seen a taxi do it. Guided by the navigation system, the car sped straight toward Villa 101. Ignoring the driver, Zhao Gang hastily pushed open the courtyard gate and charged into the villa.
Wenji! Wenji!
Zhao Gang shouted at the top of his lungs as he entered.
Impeach. Impeach.
In his line of sight, Zhao Gang actually saw Zhao Wenxuan, her hands and feet bound. His whole body trembled suddenly, his blood surged, and tears of emotion welled up in his eyes.
Xian?
Zhao Gang's voice trembled. The moment he saw his daughter, he felt that even death would be worth it. Tears instantly gushed forth. He never would have imagined in a million years that his daughter was actually here. He rushed over and ripped the tape off her mouth.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
Dad.
Zhao Wenxuan burst into tears. She hadn't expected her father to appear suddenly inside the villa, like a divine soldier descending from the heavens.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Zhao Wenxuan sobbed, her eyes filled with emotion. Seeing Zhao Gang's bleeding forehead, she hurriedly asked,
Dad. You're hurt.
I'm fine. Where is your brother? Where is your brother? Is he here?
Zhao Gang asked anxiously.
My brother is inside. He's hooked up to nutrient fluids and is barely conscious all day. He's scheduled for a liver transplant tomorrow. Sob. My brother isn't dead. He isn't dead. You have to save him.
Zhao Wenxuan cried. Zhao Gang's arrival immediately caught the attention of those inside the villa. A man in his 30s rushed out of a room, roaring, "Who the fuck are you? Get the hell out."
Dad. He's the owner's son. He's the one who kidnapped me. Be careful.
Zhao Wenxuan hurriedly warned. Hearing that this was the culprit who had kidnapped his daughter, Zhao Gang flew into a rage. Before the young man could reach him, he grabbed a stool and charged fiercely at him. The young man was clearly pampered and spoiled. He had never encountered such ferocity before. He was good at bossing people around, but when it came to a real fight, he was a total coward. Zhao Gang rushed over and smashed the stool over the young man's head. The young man let out a wail and collapsed to the ground. Another man, big and burly, rushed out from the room. The burly man appeared to be Zhang Chunlai's bodyguard. Seeing his young master beaten to the ground, the burly man roared, charged forward, grabbed Zhao Gang by his clothes and slammed him viciously onto the floor. Zhao Gang was no match for the burly man. He could only passively take the beating. Thrown to the ground, Zhao Gang felt as if his body were falling apart. The pain nearly caused him to black out.
Damn it! Kill him.
A furious voice shouted from inside, followed by a haggard old man in a wheelchair struggling to make his way out. His face was dark, his lips a deep purple, and his eyes, sharp as a falcon's, fixed dead on Zhao Gang. He had already figured out Zhao Gang's identity. Zhao Wenxuan had addressed him as Dad, so he was obviously the father of the siblings. The reason Director Lin had cooperated with Zhao Gang to come to Zhang Chunlai's home was, to put it bluntly, simply to use the bodyguard to secretly eliminate Zhao Gang. Once Zhao Gang was dead and the hospital destroyed, he would be safe. This way, he would not only save Zhang Chunlai's life, but also preserve his own reputation as Lin Sudong. It was just a pity that Director Lin had completely squandered his winning hand. As a matter of fact, the bodyguard was indeed strong. Upon receiving Zhang Chunlai's order, the bodyguard charged again, swinging a fist at Zhao Gang's head. Zhao Gang was caught off guard and took a heavy blow. Seeing this, Zhao Wenxuan cried out,
Stop hitting him. Stop hitting him.
Who the fuck do you think you are? Kill him. If anything happens, I'll take the rap.
Zhang Chunlai had truly developed a murderous intent. That Zhao Gang had tracked them here was unbelievable and completely unexpected. But since he was here, he wasn't leaving. The punch knocked all the teeth on the left side of Zhao Gang's jaw loose, and they fell from his mouth as a stream of dark red blood trickled from his lips. He was dizzy and seeing stars, nearly fainting. He fought back the intense pain, trying his best not to pass out, because he knew that if he did, death awaited him and his children. He no longer doubted Zhang Chunlai's urge to kill him. Just as the bodyguard was about to charge at him again, a young man suddenly rushed in from outside and delivered a flying kick straight to the bodyguard's face. The kick sent the bodyguard staggering backward. Upon seeing this, Zhao Gang abruptly drew the dagger from his waist. With a sudden burst of desperate strength and eyes wide with fury, he slashed and stabbed wildly at the bodyguard's legs, driving the blade in dozens of times. He put every ounce of his strength into each strike. The bodyguard howled in agony, staggered, and collapsed heavily to the ground. Once the bodyguard was down, Zhao Gang heaved a heavy sigh of relief.
Thank you,
Zhao Gang said to the young man who had charged in. The young man was none other than the taxi driver. The driver hadn't originally intended to help, but he had heard the voices from outside. He had heard Zhao Wenxuan begging Zhao Gang to save her brother. That single sentence made the driver realize that Zhao Gang was truly there to save someone, to save his children. With his legs incapacitated, the bodyguard instantly lost his ability to fight. Resembling a beaten dog, he lay in a pool of his own blood, helplessly watching it gush from his wounds. After taking down the bodyguard, Zhao Gang staggered to his feet. The wound on his forehead had never stopped bleeding, and the intense struggle had only made the flow worse. His head, face, and clothes were covered in blood, some his own, some the bodyguard's. He rose slowly, gripping the dagger tightly with both hands, and turned his gaze toward Zhang Chunlai. A bloodthirsty glint shone in his eyes. An overwhelming aura of murderous rage radiated from him. With every step and every glance, he looked like a man possessed by a demon, staring at Zhang Chunlai until the man trembled with fear. Zhang Chunlai was dumbfounded. He never imagined Zhao Gang could defeat the bodyguard he took such pride in.
You! What do you want to do? Stay back.
Zhang Chunlai screamed in terror.
What am I going to do?
Zhao Gang stared at him with icy eyes.
I'm going to butcher you, you animal.
I haven't touched your children. I haven't hurt them. If you kill me now, it's against the law.
In his panic, Zhang Chunlai tried to use the law to intimidate Zhao Gang. Zhao Gang sneered.
You think that still scares me? I swore an oath long ago. The day I save my children is the day you scum die.
I. Don't come any closer. Don't.
Zhang Chunlai was in despair.
Dad. Dad. Don't. Don't kill him. You'll go to prison. Brother and I can't live without you. He hasn't mistreated us these past few days.
Zhao Wenxuan, terrified that her father would be charged with murder, hurriedly tried to stop him. Hearing his daughter's words, Zhao Gang paused slightly. But when he recalled his earlier despair and his overwhelming hatred, his fist subconsciously tightened. Zhang Chunlai had to die. If Zhang Chunlai lived, his family would never know peace. Even if he were arrested now, his money would ensure he lived a comfortable life. He might even kidnap his son secretly later for the liver transplant, since his son's liver was a match. At this thought, Zhao Gang's murderous intent surged again. Even if he were imprisoned, even if he were executed, as long as it bought his children's safety, he could give his late wife a worthy explanation in the afterlife. Wenxuan, Dad is sorry. I have my limits, and this is all I can do for you now, Zhao Gang silently recited in his heart. With that, he gripped the dagger tighter and fixed his gaze on Zhang Chunlai once more. This time, his eyes revealed absolute resolve. Just then, dozens of police officers swarmed into the villa.
Don't move. Nobody move.
One officer shouted, holding his gun high. Seeing the police rush in, a look of delight appeared on Zhang Chunlai's face. He knew his life was saved. Zhao Gang, however, made a sudden leap to Zhang Chunlai's side and pressed his dagger against the man's neck.
Don't move, or I'll shoot.
An officer yelled.
Dad. Don't. Please don't.
Zhao Wenxuan cried out, begging him, terrified her father would be shot on the spot.
Haha.
Zhang Chunlai couldn't help but laugh loudly.
Zhao Gang, I advise you to give up. Stop this pointless resistance. You can't kill me.
He actually knew Zhao Gang's name.
Uncle Zhao. Let him go. I've already handed over all the evidence you provided to the higher-ups. Lin Sudong has already been arrested.
Among the police officers, a familiar face appeared in Zhao Gang's field of vision. This familiar face was none other than Officer Song, who had previously been dispatched from Chaoan and resigned. It turned out that when Zhao Gang left Jingdu, he had sent the 2 videos he recorded to Officer Song via WeChat. One video concerning Dr. Liu, and one concerning Director Huang. He also told Officer Song exactly where Dr. Liu and Director Huang were being held. Although Officer Song had officially resigned, he wanted to gift him a massive achievement. This achievement was not so much for Officer Song as it was for Officer Chun. After arriving at Saika Hospital, he kept his line open with Officer Song the entire time, so Officer Song could hear every conversation that took place and record them. The photos he took and the videos he recorded inside the hospital via WeChat were also sent directly to Officer Song. This was also the reason why, after he and Dean Lin got into the accident on the road, he saved Dean Lin but then paid him no further mind. Because Officer Song already knew they had crashed and would send people to the scene immediately. This way, as long as Dean Lin fell into Officer Song's hands, everyone involved in organ trafficking with him will be dragged down one by one.
Lin Sudong has been arrested?
Zhang Chunlai clearly hadn't heard the news about the hospital being bombed or Lin Sudong's car accident. Upon hearing Officer Song's words, Zhang Chunlai's face instantly turned ghastly pale. He realized that there was no way he could avoid prison now. What awaited him next was likely rotting in prison, or perhaps his liver cancer would flare up, and he would drop dead before his sentence was up. Thinking of this, a rare smile appeared at the corners of his mouth.
Zhao Gang, do you dare to kill me? I guarantee you wouldn't dare, but you will definitely kill me today.
A sudden sneer curled at the corner of Zhang Chunlai's mouth. Zhao Gang looked grim, his hands trembling. He truly wanted to kill Zhang Chunlai, but remembering that his children were now safe, his murderous intent began to dissipate. Besides, killing Zhang Chunlai right in front of the police really wouldn't be a good omen.
Dad. Don't let his words provoke you. Come over here, quick.
Zhao Wenxuan hurriedly urged.
Uncle Zhao. You don't need to kill him. His crimes are enough to keep him behind bars for life. Besides, he is gravely ill and will die in prison within a few days. Killing him is meaningless, it would only brand you as a murderer.
Officer Song advised.
Haha.
Zhang Chunlai couldn't help but laugh loudly.
Zhao Gang, I told you, you will definitely kill me today. Do you believe me?
Zhao Gang remained silent.
There is something, I don't know if I should say it or not, but I think you will be very interested.
Zhang Chunlai smiled. Zhao Gang remained silent.
Do you know how I know your name?
Zhao Gang still didn't speak.
Do you know why I kidnapped your daughter?
Zhang Chunlai asked again.
Why did you kidnap my daughter? Is it because my daughter's liver is also a match for you?
Zhao Gang finally asked. He had been suspecting this all along.
Correct. You are very smart. Both the brothers' and sisters' livers are indeed a match for me. That is why I sent someone specifically to kidnap her. I wanted to keep her and raise her myself, to prevent her from having any accidents, because good livers are hard to find, and ones that match me are even rarer. So, I cherish them very much.
Zhang Chunlai answered truthfully.
You truly are a demon. You deserve to die.
Zhao Gang shouted in anger.
Haha. What does that matter?
Zhang Chunlai laughed heartily, then added.
That is nothing. Next, I'm going to drop a bombshell on you. I guarantee that once you hear it, you'll want nothing more than to hack me to death.
What are you trying to say?
Zhao Gang's pupils dilated sharply. He suddenly remembered what Dean Lin had told him on the road. There was something about Zhang Chunlai that he would never expect. He had thought it was related to his daughter, but he hadn't imagined there was something else.
Do you know whose liver I am currently using in my body?
Zhang Chunlai asked, narrowing his eyes.
Whose? Whose is it?
Upon hearing this, Zhao Gang's expression tightened, and his whole body trembled. His deceased wife subconsciously floated into his mind, because his wife had also died very mysteriously. All he had received was a box of ashes. At this critical juncture, if he couldn't connect it to his late wife, he would be a complete and utter fool. First his son, then his daughter. What else could it be but his late wife?
Haha, you're no fool. You must have figured out by now. That's right. The liver inside me was transplanted from your wife back then. Haha. Are you surprised? Was it unexpected? Actually, from the moment I transplanted your wife's liver, I had my eyes on your whole family. Your son's sprained ankle was something I specifically ordered to be arranged. So, haha. But I never imagined that an honest, simple coal miner like you could erupt with such capability. I underestimated you. Haha.
As these words came out, Zhao Gang's face changed drastically. His eyes bulged like those of a bull, looking as if they were about to pop out of their sockets. His entire body trembled violently.
You devil! I'm going to kill you!
With a furious roar, he violently brandished the knife in his hand and stabbed it ruthlessly into Zhang Chunlai's temple. The sharp dagger instantly pierced his skull. To the side, Zhao Wenxuan had already collapsed to the ground. Her face suddenly went deadly pale. For once, she did not stop her father. She never could have imagined, not in a million years, that her mother's death had something to do with him. No wonder he had deliberately provoked her father. Realizing he was going to spend the rest of his life in prison, he had decided to go for broke and reveal everything. Upon seeing this, the group of detectives at the door all silently lowered their heads. They already knew what the Zhao family had gone through, but they had not expected that even Zhao Gang's wife had died at the hands of this devil. Now that Zhao Gang could kill Zhang Chunlai and personally avenge his wife, it could be considered bringing peace to her soul. Zhang Chunlai's head was stabbed into a bloody mess by Zhao Gang. Brain matter and blood splattered everywhere. It splashed across Zhao Gang's face and covered his body. Zhao Gang seemed to have lost his mind. It was only under the restraint of Officer Song and a few others that he finally stopped his assault. Zhang Chunlai was dead. His son and his bodyguards were all arrested, because these two were suspected of kidnapping Zhao Wenxuan. Zhao Wenji was revived by Officer Song. After Dean Lin was taken to the hospital, he was placed under police control. Fortunately, Zhao Gang acted in time and managed to save the innocent missing persons. On the other hand, the wealthy tycoons lying in the front yard wards, as well as their families guarding them at the hospital, were all blown to death. This incident caused a huge sensation across the country. Netizens everywhere frantically liked and praised Zhao Gang's actions. Those rescued innocent people immediately contacted their families with the help of the police. Dr. Liu was sentenced to a fixed-term imprisonment. Director Huang was sentenced to death, executed immediately. The dump truck driver was also arrested and sentenced to death. He was Director Huang's lackey, specializing in doing shady business for him. After being caught, he exposed all of Director Huang's heinous deeds. Officer Chun was posthumously awarded the title of martyr. Zhao Gang was identified by the detectives as having committed manslaughter. However, because he saved many innocent lives, exposed the organ trafficking ring, and helped the police solve many long-standing missing person cases, his merits outweighed his faults. Ultimately, the court sentenced him to 1 month to be served outside of prison. His manslaughter conviction was not entered into the criminal record, so it would not affect his children's future development. Furthermore, he was awarded various titles and honors, such as People's Hero and Model Figure. In the future, his children would have priority rights for employment, whether entering public institutions or government agencies. The reason for such a humane ruling was that Zhao Gang's actions had deeply touched people's hearts. He received care and support from netizens and the general public. He had single-handedly destroyed this vicious industry chain and exposed its reality. Indirectly, this resulted in the salvation of countless families. Zhao Wenxuan returned to the school she had been longing for. Upon learning of Zhao Gang's deeds, the principal and the dean of students were all deeply moved. They could never have imagined that Zhao Gang would single-handedly rescue his children from the wolf's den. When Zhao Tai, Zhao Tong, and the workers at Zhao Gang's coal mine heard the news, they all showed expressions of admiration. They never would have guessed that Zhao Gang, an honest and simple coal miner, would one day erupt with such tremendous potential. They looked at him with new eyes and sincerely admired his actions. Zhao Gang stayed in the hospital for half a month. During this time, many people came to visit him every day. In particular, the family members who had lost their children came one by one to see him. As for the children he had saved, they all bowed to Zhao Gang, treating him as their reborn parent. If Zhao Gang hadn't saved them, they would have had no future. During his hospitalization, Zhao Wenji stayed by his bedside. Immediately after being discharged, Zhao Gang took his son and daughter to the Martyr Cemetery, where Officer Chun and his wife were buried together. Officer Song and the couple's daughter, Chen Shiner, came along as well. Zhao Gang knelt before the grave, knocked his head on the ground several times, and ordered his children to kowtow.
You two remember this firmly. Without Officer Chen and Officer Song, you would not be here today. Officer Chen and Officer Song are your benefactors. Benefactors you can never fully repay in a lifetime. Officer Chen, in particular, sacrificed his life because of you. So, you must carve this into your bones and keep it in your hearts. Because of your case, Officer Chen and his wife sacrificed themselves. This is Officer Chen's daughter, Chen Shiner. You must treat her as your own biological sister. No matter how well you do in the future, you would sooner starve yourselves than let Chen Shiner go hungry. Kneel here and swear to the heavens. Swear to Officer Chen and his wife.
Zhao Gang stood before the tomb, his voice resolute and decisive, every word carrying immense weight. After Officer Chun and his wife passed away, their precious daughter was left with no one to care for her. Officer Song was unmarried and had no experience in looking after a child. To shoulder this responsibility, Zhao Gang specifically quit his job as a miner, rented a house in Jingdu City, and dedicated himself to attending to the daily needs of Officer Chen's daughter. All because he wanted to repay a debt of gratitude.